I'm gonna be the best attorney on YouTube. Episode 1, the first turnabout. Do I have to get my voice acting bag in this game? How am I gonna read it that fast? I've gotta find someone to pin this on. I'll make it look like he did it. August 3rd, 1974. Fuck. Can I hold the microphone while I play the game? It's only, like, I'm only gonna be pressing A, correct? We're just gonna hold the mic the whole time. Boy, am I nervous. Should I do voices? We can't be just sitting here, not immersed. We can't put on a suit, jacket, a tie, and a shirt for no reason. Okay, there's gotta be some point of this. Did I just see a... What is that? It's just a big fly. Let me chill out. Sorry for your ears.
Well, I've got something to say, Phoenix. I'm impressed. Not everyone takes on a murder trial right off the bat like this. It says a lot about you. And your client as well.
Actually, it's because I owe him a favor.
A favor?
Did I just get a DM? The fuck was that?
You mean you knew the defendant before the case?
He's one of the reasons I became an attorney.
Well, that's news to me.
It's over. My life, everything, it's all over.
Is that your client screaming over there?
Yeah, it's him. Death, despair, oh!
It sounds like he wants to die.
Oh my god. This is already hurting me. It's 5 minutes in. Hey there, Larry. Dude, I'm so guilty. Tell them I'm guilty. Who took my baby away? Person responsible for your girlfriend's death. The newspapers say it was you. That sounds like Mario sound effects. A young woman was killed in her apartment. The guy they arrested was the unlucky sap dating her. Larry Butts. My best friend since grade school. He has a knack for getting himself into trouble. One thing I can say though, it's usually not his fault. He just has terrible luck. And I know better than anyone that that guy has a good heart. August 3. Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Larry Butts. What voice did I have for this dude? It's gonna change a lot, y'all. I'm sorry. There's not gonna be that much of a consistency through the voice cast because I am just one person. Mr. Right? That kind of sounds racist. I'm not doing that. This is your first trial, is it not? Your conduct during this trial will decide the fate of your client. Murder is a serious charge. For your client's sake, I hope you can control your nerves. Thank you, Your Honor. This is a murder trial. Tell me, what is the victim's name? Whew, I know this one. Glad I kept the case report covered to Fuck! I read the case report cover over and over so many times. It's, shit.
Phoenix, are you absolutely sure you're up to this? You don't even know the victim's name? Look, the victim's name is listed in the court record.
The victim's name is Cindy Stone? Correct. She died because she was hit with a object. As Mr. Wright just told us, the victim was struck with a blunt object. Would you explain to the court just what that object was?
The murder weapon was the statue of the thinker. It was found lying on the floor next to the victim.
Mr. Payne, the prosecution may call its first witness.
Prosecution calls the defendant, Mr. Butts, to the stand. Mr. Butts, is it not true that the victim had recently dumped you?
Hey, watch it, buddy. We were great together. I can't do it. We need a different voice for Butts. Do I have any other ones? Could we go with country accent? Does that even hit? We're gonna see. I wasn't dumped. She wasn't taking my phone calls or seeing me. Ever.
Mr. Butts, what you describe is generally what we mean by dumped. In fact, she had completely abandoned you and was seeing other men. She had just returned from overseas with one of them the day before the murder. Your Honor, the victim's passport, according to this, she was in Paris until the day before she died, along with Kanye West and Jay-Z. The victim was a model, but did not have a large income. It appears that she had several sugar daddies.
Daddies? Sugar?
Yes, older men who gave her money and gifts. She took their money and used it to support her lifestyle. Tell me, Mr. Butts, what do you think of her now?
I don't think you want him to ask.
Oh my god. I don't think I can do it. I'm gonna have to switch her voice. I didn't get a chance to read that.
I believe the accused's motive is clear to everyone. We have a witness that can prove he did go to the apartment the other day.
Well, that simplifies matters. Who was your witness?
The man who found the victim's body. Just before making this gruesome discovery, he saw the defendant fleeing the scene of the crime. On the day of the murder, my witness was selling newspapers at the victim's building. Please bring in Mr. The fuck? Please.
Read! Mr. Sewett, you may proceed with your testimony. I was going door to door selling subscriptions when I saw a man fleeing an apartment. I thought he must be in a hurry because he left the door half open behind him. Thinking it strange, I looked inside the apartment. Then I saw her lying there, a woman, not moving, dead. I quailed in fright and found myself unable to go inside. I thought to call the police immediately. However, the phone in her apartment wasn't working. I went to a nearby park and found a public phone. I remember the time exactly. It was 1 p.m. The man who ran was, without a doubt, the defendant sitting right over there. Incidentally, why wasn't the victim's phone working?
Your Honor, at the time of the murder, there was a blackout in the building.
Aren't phones supposed to work during a blackout?
Yes, Your Honor. However, some cordless phones do not function normally. Your Honor, I have a record of the blackout for your perusal.
Electricity was out from noon to 6 p.m. on the day of the crime. You may begin with your cross-examination.
Cross-examination? The fuck is that?
I can't do this. My voice hurts. And I'm stuck in my wire. Who needs a microphone cord this long? Look at this. It's bigger than me. I can do jump ropes with this hoe. Give me a second.
Alright, this is it.
Oh, I forgot my mic. Fucking camera's on the floor.
This is the real deal.
Her voice has to change. I can't do it anymore. Why, you just exposed the lies the testimony witness just gave? Lies? He was lying? People do that? Your client is innocent, right? Then that witness must have lied in his testimony. You saw a woman there lying? The only thing that's lying is you, bitch. Hold it there. Are you sure she was dead?
She wasn't moving at all, and there was blood everywhere.
Very well, what happened next?
I wailed and fried. Didn't sound much.
What the fuck? The phone in her apartment wasn't working. Do you expect me to believe that?
Yes, I mean, no. No, it wasn't, right.
But you said you didn't go into the apartment. Or did you?
Oh, that, I can explain that. There was a cordless phone on the shelf in the entranceway. I reached inside and tried using that to call.
A public park. Those don't exist anymore. Hold it there. Why use a public phone? Don't you have a burner on you? I know you keep two kind of burners on you. Burner phone and that stick.
But you see, I don't have a cell phone.
How do you know what time it was if you don't have a phone and I clearly don't see a fucking watch on your wrist because you don't have that shit like me? Now stop. Hold it there. Are you certain it was 1 p.m.?
Yes, absolutely.
4 p.m. to 5 p.m. You found the body at 1 p.m.? Are you sure about that?
Yes, it was 1 p.m. for certain.
Frankly, I find that hard to believe. What is he, Draymond Green? I don't know if y'all watch that podcast, but bro says frankly every sentence. And quite frankly, I think Steph Curry is the best of all time. Your statement directly contradicts the autopsy report. The autopsy notes that the time of death was somewhere after 4 p.m. How do you explain this 3-hour gap, bitch?
This is trivial. The witness merely forgot the time.
After his testimony, I find that hard to believe. Why were you so certain that you found the body at 1 p.m.? Lies always beget more lies. Hold on. I forgot the song. There's a song called Baguetti by Jid and Smino. Absolute gas pack. Would you care to give your testimony again?
You see, when I found the body, I heard the time. There was a voice saying the time. It was probably coming from the television.
Oh, but it was 3 hours off, wasn't it?
I guess the victim must have been watching a video of a tape program. That's why I thought it was 1 p.m. Terribly sorry about this misunderstanding.
You know what? That makes no sense. How could he hear the TV if the electricity was off?
At the time of the crime.
We got his ass. We got his ass. The prosecution has said that there was a blackout at the time of the discovery. And this record proves it. The defense has a point. Do you have any explanation for this, Mr. Sowit?
Actually, I didn't hear the time. I saw it.
Bitch, you said you didn't!
There was a table clock in the apartment, wasn't there? Yeah, the murder weapon. The killer used it to hit the victim. That must have been what I saw.
Bitch, it was a statue of the thinker. How about you be like the statue and fucking think? We already got his ass. We already got his ass. The murder weapon, bitch. This murder weapon? The murder weapon wasn't a clock. It's this statue! Now, how is this supposed to be a clock?
You, with your objections and your evidence, just who do you think you are?
Just answer the question, Mr. Sowit.
Hey, I saw it there, okay? That's a clock. Your Honor, if I may.
Yes, Mr. Payne?
The neck is a switch, you just tilt it and it says the time out loud. It doesn't look like a clock. I submitted it as my statue. My apologies.
He submitted it wrong? Judge, you're gonna take that, really? So the murder weapon was a table clock after all. Well, Mr. Wright, it appears that the witness's testimony was correct. This is a clock. Do you have any problems with this testimony now? Yeah. How the fuck is that a clock? He's clearly chatting. There is a gaping hole in the whole witness's testimony. The only way he could have known that this weapon was a clock is to hold it in his hand. Yet the witness testified that he never entered the apartment. Clearly a contradiction. Indeed. Indeed you do. Hit up Indeed for a job. It doesn't work. I don't understand how I live in one place
and it's telling me for a job in fucking Texas. Bitch, I don't live there. The witness knew it was a clock because he went into the apartment. We're inside the apartment on the day of the murder. You struck her with the clock, and the shock of the blow triggered the clock's voice. That was the sound you heard. Mic drop. The sound must have left quite an impression on you. Understandable, since the murder weapon spoke just as you hit the victim. That voice was burned into your mind. That's why you were so certain about the time. Would the witness care to elaborate? Did you strike the victim with the clock? Why would he admit that? That day, I never. But the clock, I heard, no, I mean, I saw.
Shut up. I hate you. It was him, I tell you. I saw him. He killed her and he should burn. Burn, give him death.
Order in the court, I say. Do you have any evidence? Your Honor, the sound Mr. Sweat heard was definitely this clock. A fact which is clear if you simply try sounding the clock. Your Honor, may I have the clock? I ask the court to listen very carefully.
I think it's certainly 8:25 a.m.
So, we've heard the clock. What are your conclusions, Mr. Wright? Mr. Payne, can you tell me what the time is now?
It's 11:25.
As you can see, this clock is exactly 3 hours slow. Precisely the discrepancy what Mr. DeWitt heard in the actual time of the death. So, Mr. DeWitt, try to talk your way out of this one.
You forgot one thing.
What is bro spouting about?
It may seem like the clock is running 3 hours slow. It proves nothing. How do you know it was running 3 hours slow on the day of the murder? If you can't prove that, you don't have a case.
It seems you lack the No, I do! Oh, I can't present the passport? She was in Paris because that's where she got the thinker thing. And in Paris, the time zones are different. You're just gonna bend over and take it? No! This ends the cross-examination of Mr. Frank Sweat.
Sorry, Larry. I failed you. There's nothing I can do about it now.
There is, though. There's no way it ends like that. Not so fast, Mr. Sweat. Listen up, right? Don't throw this one away. Not like this. Well, Mr. Wright, you say the clock was already running slow on the day of the murder. Have you found evidence to support this claim? There's a piece of evidence in the court record that can prove my claim beyond a doubt. The passport. Boom! The victim has just returned home from abroad the day of the murder. As we know, the time difference between here and Paris is 9 hours? When it's 4 p.m. here, it's 1 a.m. on the net. Oh! So it was 1 a.m. instead of p.m. And the clock wasn't 3 hours slow. It was 9 hours fast. The victim hadn't reset her clock since returning home. That's why you heard it when you struck her in dead in the apartment. Wrong. What? That's why the time you struck her. What the fuck? That's why the time you heard. Whatever. Read the screen. I can't. Proof enough for you, Mr. Sweat? Or should I say, Mr. Did It?
What the fuck happened to him?
Well, this case has certainly turned out differently than we all expected. Mr. Payne, your witness.
He was arrested and has been taken away, Your Honor.
Very well. Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. I have to say I'm impressed. This court finds the defendant, Mr. Larry Butts, not guilty. I'm the best lawyer in the fucking business, bitch. Let's fucking go. I am him. Whoever you think you are, I'm him. Say, how about dinner on me? Yeah. Let's do it. And so my first trial came to a close. Larry slapped me on the back and said, "Oh, gee, Nick, it's good to have friends." I didn't know it then, but that clock was soon going to be at the center of another incident. A brand new episode has been added. Holy crap, that dude is blinged the fuck out.
Now I'm calling because I have a favor to ask.
You want me to hold the evidence for you?
Sharp as always. There's a lot of buzz about the upcoming trial. I just don't feel safe keeping the evidence here.
I gotcha. So, what is it this time?
It's a clock.
A clock?
Yeah, it's made to look like that statue, the Thinker, and it tells you the time. I should probably tell you, the clock isn't talking right now.
Huh? It's not working?
I had to take the clock book out, sorry. Can you come by the office tonight, say 9, to pick it up?
Conversation recorded. September 5th, 9:27 a.m. That must be the Thinker that swallowed those papers.
How could you know?
Ho, ho, ho. You are not configurous of my background. Gathering information is my business, you see. My dear Miss Fay, I am so very sorry. But I am afraid I must ask you for one more thing. Your eternal silence. Farewell, Miss Fay.
Did that just kill the bad bitch?
Who the fuck is that? That looks like a One Piece character. Who am I gonna take to dinner? Actually, who's gonna take me to dinner? Didn't she offer? That's ass. It's gonna be her sister that finds it, right? That's strange. Guess the chief left without me. She said her sister was coming over, so we should go out for dinner. What's that smell? Blood? Chief? Chief! Chief! Who are you? You look like you from the Sound Village. What is up with that? Nothing to say, huh? What was that jutsu she just used? Where did she go? This is a tragedy. Piece of paper? It must have fallen from Mia's hands. What could it be? Words written on this scrap of paper. Maya. Did Mia write this? This piece of paper is a receipt from a department store, dated yesterday. Yippies! What the fuck? Excuse me, but who are you?
Maya Fey.
So, you're the chief's
Sister. I'm her younger sister.
and you were here visiting? This late at night? Didn't she literally tell you that she's having her sister over? Whatever.
Yes, she said she wanted me to keep some evidence for her.
That's funny. A few of the screws on the receiver are missing. Police! Please come quick! What was that? Someone screaming from the outside window. Damn! She's staring right at me. She's holding a phone in her hand. Freeze! Police! What's this hunk of man meat? Gumshoe?
We received a report from the building across the way, see? You got a person saying they saw a murder. Does word Maya here mean anything to you?
That's my name.
What? The victim drew this here in her own blood, say?
What? I already forgot how this dude talks.
With her dying breath, she wrote down the killer's name.
Killer? I'm not.
Case closed. You're coming down to the precinct, ma'am.
Are you going to be my attorney? Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. It's up to you.
This is the address of a famous lawyer. My sister gave me this a long time ago. She said if I was ever in trouble, I should call him.
Could you tell me about the day of the murder?
Let's see, that morning I got a call from my sister. She wanted me to hold on to some piece of evidence for an upcoming trial.
Evidence?
Yes, the clock shaped like the thinker. Do you want to hear it in her own voice?
Her own voice?
Yes, I'm pretty sure our conversation is on my cell phone.
I was wondering, did you see Maya Fei's cell phone? Oh, that? I have that. Do you think you could give it back? Sure. September 6th. Gatewater Hotel, room 303. Hey, that was my homeroom in high school. Let's take a look what's inside this drawer.
Hey, what are you doing? No touching.
And what do you want? I'm not particularly busy these days. Please proceed.
Sir, this is actually about Maya Fei.
Yes, Maya Fei. Go on. I'm really quite busy here, son. I can't go talking cases on a day's notice. I'm afraid it's entirely impossible for me to represent her. Sorry, end of discussion.
Did you find the lawyer?
Well, see...
You don't mean he refused to help?
So, who was this man who ruined your mother?
White.
Excuse me? White?
That was his name. My sister told me.
I've made up my mind. I'm gonna defend you whether you want me to or not. She has no one left to help her. Nothing is more sad or more lonely than that. I know. I've been there a long, long time ago. Was that a fucking Mr. Potato Head shirt? Let's fight this one and get you out of here. Just what was inside that strange woman's drawer? It was when I tried to look into the drawer that she got all defensive. There has to be something in there. Please tell her that Mr. White of Blue Corp phoned. Oh, right, sure. Mr. White of Blue Corp? Where have I heard that name? You heard it like 5 minutes ago. There's a screwdriver sticking out of the half-open drawer. Now's my chance to see what's inside. A wiretap? What would a woman like her be doing with this thing?
Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Maya Fei.
We may call our first witness, Your Honor. The prosecution calls the chief officer at the scene, Detective Gumshoe. As soon as the phone call came in, I rushed to the scene. There were 2 people there already. The defendant, Miss Maya Fei, and the lawyer, Mr. Phoenix Wright. I immediately arrested Miss Maya Fei. Why? We had a witness account describing her. The witness saw Miss Maya Fei at the very moment of the murder. I'd like to begin my cross-examination. Hold on just 1 second. Yeah? If I heard correctly, you said you arrested her because you had hard evidence. She did it, correct? Did I say that? Me? Exactly what about this suspicious woman in pink's claims was hard evidence? Do you have any more solid proof other than her claims, detective? Yes. I found a memo written on a piece of paper next to the victim's body. On it, the word Maya was written clearly in blood. Also, there is blood found on the victim's finger. Before she died, the victim wrote the killer's name. Before she died, the victim wrote the killer's name. But she died instantly. You said that the victim, Miss Fei, wrote the note. That she was accusing the defendant, Maya Fei. That's really what you're saying. Of course she wrote it. Who else could have? You have it backwards, detective. Backwards? The victim is the... Hold on. The victim is the only one who could not have written this. This is a report from your department, detective. Immediate death due to a blow from a blunt object. She died immediately. The defense has a point. Someone who died immediately wouldn't have the time to write anything down. Mr. Wright, I beg your pardon, but when exactly did you obtain that autopsy report? It was the day after the murder. That autopsy report is outdated, Your Honor. A second autopsy was performed yesterday at my request. Death was almost immediate due to a blow from a blunt object. But there is a possibility the victim lived for several minutes after the blow. It's quite easy to imagine the victim did have time to write Maya. The prosecution would like to call its next witness. This poor, innocent girl saw the murder with her own eyes. Why does she stand like that? April May, at your service. Are they all horny? What was that? Please testify to the court about what you saw. It was like 9 at night. I looked out the window, and then, ooh, I saw a woman with long hair being attacked. The one attacking her was the mousy girl sitting in the defendant's chair. Then the woman, dodged to one side and ran away. But that girl, she caught up to her and she hit her. Then the woman with the long hair, she kind of slumped. The end. That's all I saw. Why did you look out the window? Were you expecting to see something? Oh, well, gee. What, that's it? She can't get out of this question that easily. I sort of, I just had a feeling. Did she just move? Whatever. I'm gonna let her rock. I have a feeling she's trying to avoid the question. Maybe I should press a little harder on this one. Surely you must have had a reason to look out your window at that time of night. I'm gonna be honest, Phoenix. A lot of people just look outside their window at sometimes, but whatever. How do you know she was the defendant, huh? Well, she had a girlish physique. Women know these things. Look, I just know, okay? There was only one person at the scene of the crime with short, girlish figure. The testimony is bulletproof, Your Honor. Hold on a minute. This testimony fucking sucks. What? Did you really see the defendant at all? If you had really witnessed my client, Maya Fey, you would have noticed her clothes before noticing her physique. No one wears clothes like this on a daily basis except her. However, the witness's testimony mentions neither of these things. The testimony is bogus. Still, we don't know if she was dressed that way at the night of the murder. She was, Your Honor. I saw her. And so did Detective Gumshoe. What do you say to that, Miss May? I did see everything, I did. The victim, the woman, she dodged the first attack and ran off the right. Then the girl in the hippie clothes ran after her. And she hit her with that weapon. I saw it. I did. The clock, the kind of statue-y clock, the thinker, I think. Well, does the accuracy of my report not startle you? How does she know it's a clock? So we're gonna press her on the clock thing. I think she was listening to them on the phone, talking about her coming over to get the clock, and that's the reason why she knows that. So I'm gonna press her on this. Miss May, what you said just now was quite revealing. You just said that this statue of the thinker was a clock. But there's no way of knowing that just by looking at it. The witness saw the murder with her own eyes. That's all that's important here. The defense is trying to confuse the issue with trivial concerns. Yes, of course. You would withdraw your question, Mr. Wright. Hell no! Yes, I heard it. It says the time. So, you've been to the law's office of Fey & Co. No, hey, I didn't say that. Why would I go there? I heard it from my hotel room. The law offices of Fey & Co., where the murder took place, is very close to the hotel. She could have easily heard the clock. Well, Mr. Wright, are you satisfied? Fuck no, I'm not. Your Honor, members of the court, it is inconceivable that the clock in question rang. I think it's broken. The clock's busted. You think? Just look at it. Your Honor, please examine the clock. This clock is missing its clockwork. It's quite empty. Would you care to explain to the court the meaning of this? The clock was empty. It couldn't have rung. Therefore, this witness is a big fat liar. No way. Tisk tisk. Quite a show you've put on for us, Mr. Wright. I'm afraid you've forgotten one thing, however. Indeed, the clock is empty. As you say, it can't ring. However, we must ask, when was the clockwork removed? If it was after the witness heard the clock, then there's no contradiction. And now I'll show you the proof you like so much. Take a look at this. That's a very cute cell phone. This is the defendant's cell phone, and it contains a recording of a conversation she had with the victim on the day of the murder. The defendant's cell phone? This wasn't brought to my attention. Perhaps Detective Gumshoe overlooked it. Let's hear the conversation.
I had to take the clockwork out, sorry.
Your Honor, I think it makes it clear that the clockwork was already gone by the time this was recorded, which was well before the witness even arrived at her hotel. Well, Miss May, would you care to explain this to the court? Just how did you know that weapon was a clock? Well, isn't it obvious? I saw the clock before. What store is that again? I go to so many. Oops, I forgot. So the witness had seen it before. That would make sense. Does the defense have any objections, Mr. Wright? Yeah. These aren't clocks that are sold at places. My buddy Butts makes these. This clock was never in any store, ever. Impossible. Everything is sold in stores. Miss May, I think it's high time you went shopping for a better excuse. Woo! Excuse is not on sale today? Why is he doing this?
What's it to you, porcupine head? That stupid clock doesn't matter, okay? She did it, and she should die for it. Die!
Sorry, what the fuck just happened to her? The witness had never held the clock in her hand. However, she had heard that it was a clock. She heard it? That is correct, Your Honor. There's no other way that she could have known the thinker was a clock. And I can show you the proof. Show me the evidence proving that the witness had heard the murder weapon was a clock. The fucking wiretap. Have a look at this. I found this in her room. You were tapping the victim, Miss Maya Faye's phone, were you not? Your Honor, this is irrelevant. It's irrelevant? Bitch, what the fuck are you talking about? Did the victim ever say that the weapon was a clock on the phone? Can you prove that? I think not. Oh yeah? I think I can, it's simple. What? Here's my proof. I present the defendant's cell phone. Yes, we've seen that. Listen once more to the conversation between the defendant and the victim.
It's a clock. It's made to look like that statue, the thinker, and it tells you the time.
Oh, so I'm the bad girl? This is not gonna do it. If they don't see the real her, I'm gonna be pissed. They need to stop being so horny. Why did you wiretap her phone? Answer the question. So the killing happened around 9 at night. Wait, that's just when I was getting room service from that sweet bellboy. Room service? Ergo, the witness was not on the scene at the time of the murder. I never said she was! Her testimony stands. She saw the defendant, Maya Faye, commit murder. The defense would like to call the hotel bellboy as a witness. There's something suspicious here, and I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. Witness testimony, Miss May's room service.
I'm the head bellboy at the Fine Gatewater Hotel in business for 4 generations. I believe I received a call at 8 in the evening from our guest, Miss May. She asked for an iced coffee to be brought to her at 9 on the dot, sir. I brought it to her at precisely the requested time, of course, and I delivered the iced coffee to our guest, Miss May herself.
So you delivered it directly at 9. So she was at the door. That means she could not have seen the murder if she was not at the window. You are sure it was Miss April May herself?
Absolutely, sir.
How come you're so very certain?
Well, when I brought the room service, I guess she favored me with an embracer, sir?
Embracer? Is that French for embrace?
It's French for kiss, sir. But not a French kiss, sir, more of a peck on the cheek.
He's getting this flustered over a peck on the cheek? Are we serious?
It was a moment I shall never, ever forget, sir.
I think our Miss May was up to something and wanted the bellboy to remember her.
Tisk tisk. Finally, you understand. This bellboy has absolutely no reason to lie. Now, if you have any decency, you will end this rather tedious cross-examination here.
We are gonna go with the room service. That seems like the most fishy part. Tell me again about a room service.
Again, sir, at exactly 9, I delivered room service to Miss May in room 303. The guest had requested iced coffee.
$18? Damn.
What's the charge, I recall?
I see. $18? Doesn't that seem a bit expensive?
Yes, well, iced coffee for 2, you know. And we don't skimp on the ice, sir.
Bellboy, tell us the truth now. Was someone else staying in Miss May's room? That's the sort of thing you're normally supposed to mention in this type of situation.
Yes, quite indeed.
Miss April May checked into a twin room with a man, correct?
Yes, sir.
Then, when you brought the room service, you didn't see that man in the room?
That's right, sir.
Your Honor, we have just learned of another person involved who may have been the murderer. In light of this new fact, I hold that it's impossible to judge the defendant. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Edgeworth?
And who, Mr. Wright? Who is this other person?
Simple. It was the man with Miss May. As has been previously revealed, Miss April May was tapping the victim's phone. Yet Miss May herself has an alibi at the time of the murder. However, that does not clear the man that was with her. The bellboy saw no one else in the room at the time of the murder.
The court acknowledges the defense's argument. I expect the prosecution and defense to look into this matter fully. Am I understood?
My controller died. Give me 1 minute. I have run out of batteries.
That is all for today for the trial of Miss May. Court is adjourned.
Mr. Wright, you were amazing in there.
Really?
I think I might be your newest fan.
Oh, I was just doing my job, you know?
Then again, that other attorney was pretty cool too.
Huh?
The face of his with his eyes wide and trembling lips sent shivers down my spine.
If you say so. No! Turn back on, ho. Nothing in my house takes AA batteries. So it's not like I can steal it from a controller. Maybe if I found a Wii remote downstairs that hasn't been used in like 8 years and the batteries are blown up inside of it, maybe I could use that. But Wait a minute.
So what happens with me?
Do I get to go home now? Well, no, I don't think so. Not yet. But I got a great lead in today's trial.
A lead?
That man with Miss May, he's the key. I asked for a full... Fuck. Thank you. I finished the episode. Come on, let me save my game before my controller dies. Thank you. No! We got batteries. It's like 6 hours later, but whatever. Why are you so bipolar and angry and, you know, trying to act like that? I mean, you don't look like a bad person. Phoenix, what are we talking about, man? Oh, that does it. Bottom Phoenix, some scum-sucking lawyer, excuse me? Who even talks like this? Bottom? I'm a top. I wanted to ask you about the man who was with Miss May at the time of the murder.
Ah, yes. He struck me as a real lady killer, if you'll pardon the expression. He and I are both of the same ilk. We both carry the scent of danger.
You're a bellboy. Let's calm down.
If you had a photo of the man, I'm quite sure I'd be able to identify him.
Huh? Whatever. I'm sure I've seen this person somewhere. That is Mia's mom. Perhaps I'll borrow this photo. I'm sure no one will miss just one little photo. And it might be a valuable clue. I'll take it for now. And here is Mr. White. Maybe I should switch it with the one I took. I don't know why I can't take both of them. And we gotta notice this whole oil painting is gone. Take a look at this photo.
Without a doubt, that is the man who checked in with Miss April May. How about I write an
affidavit. One moment. A written statement.
Affidavit.
Affidavit? That don't even sound right. Whatever.
How about I write an affidavit swearing that's him?
Yes, have him write it. Why wouldn't I? Well, sure. Why not?
From henceforth I will be known as the bellboy who swore the affidavit.
Just hurry up and write it, bro. Damn. What do you think about this picture, Miss May? Look, I've said several times, I'm not telling you.
Where did you?
This is the man who stayed with you in your hotel the night of the murder. No, that's not right. Do you have proof that that was him? Yeah, proof? Show me proof. Could you have a look at this? What's that? The bellboy's affidavit. Oh my god. Ease her fears or push her hard. We're gonna push her hard. Easing her fears is not gonna do shit. No use playing dumb. If you don't talk, I'm taking this info to the press.
What?
Let me not scream in the mic. I'm sorry for your ears.
Fine, I'll talk. You win, lawyer.
Now tell me about the man you were with. That man, he's my boss. Red White. Red White, the president of information gathering conglomerate Blue Corp. Information gathering? Well, I suppose you could call it a detective agency. So this is the man that was with you the night of the murder? I'm scared to talk. I don't want to end up like her. It's okay. I'll just ask Mr. White himself. Can you tell me where the Blue Corp is located? There is the painting. It looks like our boy, I don't know, Jeffrey. That big ass dude got licked.
I'm Red White, CEO of Blue Corp, you know, corporate expansion official. My business dealings bring me into contact with the elite of the elite, so I'm afraid I'm not used to conversing with the wordly challenged.
What a fruitcake! Excuse me, Phoenix, we're not using that language here. Half of the cast is a fruitcake because of the voice actor. On the night of the murder, were you in April May's hotel room?
Who can say I seldom pay attention to mundane details such as time and place? My motto is, don't worry, be happy.
The hotel bellboy has stated on record that he does remember you very clearly. It's kind of hard to mistake you for someone else. Yes, don't shake your head. You were there, right? Okay, he's lying.
I, Red White of Blue Corp, as founder and CEO, named it so. And why, you ask? Because I like the color blue, of course.
Why are you not wearing blue, except those stupid little fucking polka dots in that big ass gem on your shirt? That big painting on the wall over there, I've seen it before, just yesterday actually.
Your point being?
My point is simple. Rather, my question is simple. Why is that painting hanging on your wall?
Mr. Wrong, was it?
Right.
It appears you do not fully grasp your position here. A mere lawyer. Worth nothing. Zilch, zippo, nada. Just like that. Sorry excuse for an attorney. Grudgy burger.
He punched me 3 times.
Well, Mr. Lawyer, what will you do, huh? Charge me with assault? Charge anyway. I welcome it. For it is you who will be found guilty. Heed my exposition. The police, the courts, they do all my bidding.
Mr. Grossberg, sir, there was a giant painting hanging right there the other day, was there not? The one you said you had no intention of parting ways with? It was in the CEO's office of Blue Corp. Red White's office.
So, you noticed. I suppose I should have guessed you would. It is a large painting.
Mr. Grossberg, I know you and Mr. White are connected somehow. He's blackmailing you. I wish it was your lovers. That would make this game 30 times better, but I know it's not. Mr. White has something on you, doesn't he? Blackmail?
Red White is a man who made his living through intimidation. Blue Corp is a company that excels in finding people's weaknesses, I'm afraid. I've been paying them for 15 years now, all because of the DL6 incident, as you may have guessed.
What is the DL6 incident?
DL6 is nothing more than a sorting code the police gave the case. It was 15 years ago now. I received a
request from a medium, a spirit medium. Her name was Misty Faye. She was Mia's mother. She had been investigating a murder at the request of the police, and she failed. As a result, the police called her a fraud. So there's a bunch of suicides about policemen and politicians. I am guessing that those are people who were about to talk and who got stopped from talking. I can use these newspaper clippings. Let's find the most disturbing one. Article about a politician's suicide. The word white is written in pencil at the top.
So she was investigating Red White as I expected. Well, if you wanted to challenge him, you could present this to the court.
This is just not a good idea, but whatever. Mr. White, see this? It's an article describing the suicide of a politician. He was embezzling secret government funds. Then, one day, word got leaked to the press. The very next day, he took his own life.
And this concerns me how?
I found this article in Mia's office.
Miss Mia?
She had a file with an article like this. Every one of them was labeled with a single word. White. Mr. White, I know what you did to this politician. You blackmailed him. Not just him either. You were threatening and coercing hundreds of others. You were involved in all these suicide cases that Mia investigated. This company is built on blackmail. I'm right, aren't I?
What a bizarre accusation. Mr. Wrong, you should be searching for the one who killed Miss Me.
You are absolutely right. I should be looking for the killer now. And actually, I've done better. I found him. He's sitting right in front of me. Please contact me with the public prosecutor's office. White, that you? What do you call me out of the blue at a time like this? Hello, Chief Prosecutor. I've changed my mind. I want to testify tomorrow. Send the police over here right away. The man is standing right in front of me. He looks dazed, but he could be violent. Did I not tell you, Mr. Wrong? You are a mere lawyer, as was Miss Mia. I'll point the finger at you and you'll be tried as Miss Mia's killer. White's gonna set a trap for me, and the prosecution will be on it. And the caution will... What the fuck? And the prosecution will be in on it, sir.
Sir, that's not even in the fucking text.
And the prosecution will be in on it, of course, Edgeworth included.
Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Phoenix Wright.
Prosecution is ready, Your Honor. The defense is ready, Your Honor. I'm about to poke holes in this shit like I'm trying to keep an animal alive in a box. Like a lizard or some shit. He's finished.
Let's see, it was about 9 a.m., I believe. I was quietly that's reading to you, some papers by the window. Then I heard a beldam coming from outside. Surprised, I turned to look at the building across the way. It was then I saw him, a spiky-haired man attacking a woman with long hair. Needless to say, that man was none other than you, Mr. Lawyer. I called Miss May over at once. She, too, was flabbergasted, of course. The victim, she ran away, but you gave chase. Finally, there was a terrible impaction. And it was all over. The victim was attacked by you and ran to the left.
Mr. White, you've dug your own grave. You said the victim ran to the left, but that directly contradicts Miss May's testimony. She clearly stated that the victim ran to the right.
Oh, it is simple. You have misheard her.
I think not. Look at the floor plans. The killer was here, and the victim was here, and if the victim ran to the left, as you claim she did, she would have been running directly away from the door. Don't you find that odd? He just bust a nut? What the fuck is that?
Very strange. I did see her run to the left, I did.
Phoenix, look at his face. I don't think he's lying about this one.
True. Maybe he really did see the victim run left. If you're looking at it this way, she ran to the right. But if you're looking at it this way, she ran to the left. It's because he was killing her, and it's pretty obvious. Both witnesses are telling the truth. Obviously, the witness was not viewing the crime from the hotel. If he was not in the hotel, where could he have been? In the law offices of Faye & Co., of course. More specifically, he was standing here. The killer, yeah, this is where he was. When the victim ran for the door, he was watching from this point. To him, it would appear that she's running to the left.
The hilarity of the moment made me remember something. It appears I have been unclear, and for this I apologize. Your Honor, might I be allowed to testify one more time?
What? Like, read the words that are in front of you. How have I fucked this up so many times?
When you assaulted the girl, she first ran to the left, and then you hit her savagely. That is what I saw. Next, with the last of her strength, she ran to the right. You chased her and delivered the final blow. That is what Miss May saw. You see, you hit her twice.
So, you're fucking stupid. I think I already got his ass. Because I am pretty sure she was hit once and immediately died. The victim died from a single blow. Your Honor, if you could ask the witness for a new testimony. The witness is obviously confused, Your Honor. I would like to request a 10-minute break. The witness is confused because he's lying. I emphatically request that there be no break, Your Honor.
Yeah, we want justice. If the witness would care to revise his testimony.
The crowd's on my side. No slipping out of this now, White.
Well, see, I looked at the other window when I heard that thing fall.
You heard that thing fall? What exactly was that thing?
The glass light stand.
You're saying you saw the glass light stand?
Yes.
Then change your testimony to reflect that.
Sorry, my bad.
I think we got his ass again.
The light stand is completely out of view from the window. I'm not even gonna look at the rest of his testimony. He's capping. Mr. White, it's impossible for you to have seen the glass stand. Look at this. Note that the stand is not within the visible area. Well, Mr. White, what did you have to say to that? Ridiculousity. Mr. White, if you were in the Gatewater Hotel as you claim, you could not have seen the stand before it fell over. In fact, you wouldn't have been able to see it after it fell either. There's no way you could have recognized the broken shards as glass light stands. So when did you see the stand, Mr. White? It must have been the moment that it fell. And the only place you would have seen that from is inside the Fey Law's office. In other words, you were at the scene of the crime when the murder took place. Yo, he is folding so fucking hard. Shouldn't you confess your crime now? Confess that you placed the wiretap. In order to place the wiretap, you entered Miss Fay's office. Am I correct? This dude's so cap!
Yes, in order to place the wiretap, I breached into the Fey and Co. law offices. That is when I saw the accursed light stand.
Is anybody believing this, bro?
It was the beginning of September, the week before the murder. I had entered the Fey and Co. law offices. Of course, I had done so to place the wiretap. That is when I saw this glass light stand. Mr. Wright, are you giving up?
Yes, Your Honor. Phoenix, are we for real? Is it gonna be Mia from the afterlife?
Phoenix over here.
I know that voice.
Never give up.
Mia?
Ah, so you're finally awake.
Did he just pass out again? Is this the sister, like... Yep, I do not like how that went. That is kind of creepy.
We don't have much time, Phoenix. Now listen. You already won.
Huh?
You have that receipt in the courtroom, right? Look at the front of the receipt.
Glass light stand? Date of purchase, September 4th.
I bought that stand the day before I was killed.
Look closely at this. See the word Maya written in blood? Look at the other side of the receipt.
The other side?
Your Honor, would you tell the court what is written on the other side of this receipt?
A glass light stand. And the date of the purchase. Why, that's the day before the murder.
You see, Mr. White, when you allegedly entered the offices at the beginning of September, the stand could not have been there. That's a lot of A's. Well, Your Honor, I understand there must be quite a lot of pressure on you, but I think you'll agree you can't judge me guilty under these circumstances.
Very well.
There is no concrete proof that Phoenix Wright is innocent. Ergo, I would like to request one more day before Phoenix Wright is granted his freedom. I need time to make one more inquiry into this matter. Object. Mr. White's guilt is obvious. There's no need to prolong this trial any further.
Mr. Your Honor, may I go home?
Of course, thank you for your time. Are we serious?
The witness will stay. Read this note out loud.
Your Honor, if I may, I have something I'd like to read to the court. The memo Mia had given me was a list of names. Many of them sounded strangely familiar. People in finance, famous celebrities. That's when it happened.
Stop, deceased, Salt, please stop. Make him stop. How did you get that list?
Mr. White, admit your guilt right here and now, or else this list will be released to the press.
I confess. I confess. I did it. I hit her. I hit Miss Mia with the thinker.
This court finds the defense not guilty. I told the bitch I'm him, stop playing.
Can he come to the office tonight? Say 9. Maya wrote me a letter. Take care of Phoenix for me. She means the office. This office. Someone has to help with the new Wright and Co. law offices, right? And who better but me, Maya Fey, reporting for duty.
Wright and Co. law offices. It's got a good ring to it. Oh my god, we are finally done with this fucking episode. I don't know why it was so long. October 14th, 5:31 p.m. Wright and Co. law offices. What was that surreal show you were watching?
What? Nick, you mean you don't know the Steel Samurai? He's only the most popular TV hero for young people.
Well, that's why I don't know. October 16th, 8:14 a.m. My bedroom. Hello, this is Phoenix.
Nick,
Maya? What? It's still early.
it's the Steel Samurai. Steel Samurai got arrested.
Huh? You mean the guy on the show?
Yes. They're saying that the Steel Samurai killed a villain.
Like, isn't that what he normally does?
Just come to the office, quick.
He was arrested on suspicion of murder. The victim was Jack Hammer, who plays the villain known as Evil Magistrate. His body was found still inside the Evil Magistrate costume. The samurai spear was also found stuck through the body. Police believe this was the murder weapon and are investigating further. This has to be a joke, right? Like W promotion, things of that nature?
No, it's a nightmare. The Steel Samurai is over. The world is over.
I feel like that's gonna be him.
Yes, Wright and Co. law offices. It's the Steel Samurai. They have the Steel Samurai down in detention.
So what?
So I've decided this will be our first case.
Is that the Wolverine?
Maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but he definitely did it. murder. At least one, maybe twice.
Maybe you could start by telling us what happened. The cast had come down to Global Studios for a run-through. We went through a few action sequences at 10 a.m. There was a rehearsal scheduled for 5 in the afternoon, but when 5 came around and the staff gathered at the studio, Evil Magistrate was found lying in a crumpled heap near the set. They took off his mask and discovered that it was Jack Hammer, dead. Now, where were you on the day of the murder?
Well, that morning I came down to the studio at 9. We worked through some action scenes until noon. The rehearsal was to begin at 5, but I was a little tired. So after lunch, I took a nap in my dressing room. When I woke up, it was after 5. I was late for the rehearsal. I hurried to the studio and found everyone looking in shock. They arrested me on the spot and brought me here. Wow, so this is where they make the Steel Samurai show. Awesome. Aren't you excited?
Hey, you there. You want in, you gotta get through me. And it's my job to make sure that gawkers like you stay out.
That sounds racist. And looking at her, it probably was.
Yesterday, something horrible happened.
Who is she?
Nick, is she talking too fast to where the narrator can't read? He's not getting paid for this. How is he gonna read that fast?
What do you do here at the studios?
At Global Studios, we make children's dreams come true. In fact, in my younger days, no, you were a star. This place has really gone downhill, you know. But 10 years ago, now this was a studio of dreams. Hammer was a big star back then too. He's been reduced to playing villains now. Not exactly the best material to work with.
Can you tell me about Mr. Will Powers?
He's not a bad kid, but don't be fooled by his mask. You wouldn't want him on the silver screen without it, believe me. The old ladies watching would lose their lunch.
The ladies would not lose their lunch. They would lose their minds because he's kind of hot. So let's stop disrespecting my client. And the shading looks off on your face. I'm not really buying how there's so much highlights right there. And it kind of looks like a clown did your makeup. And that's probably why you need to be in the acting business, because you would have people do their makeup for you, and you clearly can't do it by yourself. You ugly ass old bag. But anyway, why are you so certain Mr. Powers is the killer?
Only one person went by here from 1 to 2:30 when the murder took place, and
that person was Mr. Powers?
Yes, I saw him. Hey, pal, you know the prosecutor Edgeworth is all upset, and it's your fault. I saw him sipping tea and staring gloomingly out the window.
How is that my problem? So, detective, mind if I take a look at what you got? The autopsy report? The latest version, if you please? Sorry about what happened last time, pal.
Oh, to the left room. Here is the gate with the photo that took the camera.
What did I just say? The photo that took the camera? October 16th, Studio 1.
Hey, you! No touching that!
Who are you?
Who, me? I'm an assistant here. I help with props and stuff, moving them around, ordering new ones, etc.
We're lawyers representing Mr. Will Powers.
I don't envy you guys one bit. But do what you can for WP, okay? He never hurt a fly. He has to be innocent. In the morning, we went through the action sequences in the employee area. WP and Hammer were there, along with everyone else. After eating lunch there, Mr. Hammer went to Studio 1. And I saw WP go into his dressing room. But I didn't see either of them after that. That day, just after noon, I sensed someone was here.
You sensed?
Yeah, several times.
Some other employees, maybe?
No, I don't think so. The only thing we had scheduled was an action scene run through. I was the only assistant here that day. I had a feeling it was someone from outside.
I want to ask you again about yesterday. You came here at 1 p.m., correct? And the estimated time of Hammer's death was 2:30. Are you sure that Powers was the only one to go through the gate?
Sure as can be. We have a witness who says there was someone from outside here on that day.
Who told you that? Who dares question me? All you youngins are like that nowadays, running your mouths like...
She just had a heart attack. She left. Did she leave this mortal plane, or did she leave the premises?
How is this a picture of Will Powers?
Well, he is the one who always wears that suit. I guess that's why the security lady thought it was him. October 15th, 2 p.m. Photo number 2.
What does this mean?
Maybe there's more photo data from that day.
Nope, that's the only one in the computer.
I think this photo is what we needed for the trial. Still, it'd be better if we had some idea of who the real killer was.
Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Will Powers.
To understand this case, it's important to grasp the layout of the studio, see? This here is the employee area. The actors did a run through of their action scene during the morning here. This is the main gate to the studio. The security lady that works there at the studio was here at 1 p.m. on the day. Past the security station, there's a gate, see? And past that, there are studios.
And here it is, Studio 1. This is the scene of the murder where the body was found. Now, on the day of the murder, October 15th, there was only 3 people here. The victim, Jack Hammer, the defendant, Will Powers, and a young woman, the production assistant. All the production staff were in the employee area until noon. Then after lunch, the victim, Jack Hammer, went to Studio 1. Right after that, at 1 p.m., the security lady got to the guard station. Now jump ahead later that day, 5 p.m. The production staff came to Studio 1 to perform a rehearsal. Needless to say, the rehearsal was canceled. The time of the death was 2:30 p.m. The samurai spear found lodged in the victim's chest was the murder weapon. That's the case in brief. Will the witness declare her name?
I can't get this dude's voice correct.
Will the witness declare her name?
Wendy Oldbag, dearie. So call me Grandma. It's practically my name. So when I was young, I was an Oldbag, and now other children want to make fun of me because of my name. Can you believe it? But now there's a god, but no boy that has good. Oh my god.
Objection! Shut the fuck up! Objection sustained.
I was just getting to the good part, dearie.
Perhaps we could get to the testimony.
On the day of the murder, I arrived at the guard station at 1 p.m. Poor old Hammer and the rest had been doing a run-through there since the morning. I had some errands to run that morning. Anyway, it was 1 when I got to the guard station. I was at the main gate from until 5. Now, the murder happened at 2:30 p.m., right? Interesting to me, because a certain man walked right by me at 2 p.m. It was Powers, the man right there, and he was heading towards the studio.
You saw him, but all you saw was a costume. Stop it right there. But you're talking about the man in this photo, aren't you?
Just a moment, Miss Wright. Let me see that photo.
Miss Oldbag, is this Mr. Powers that you saw?
Of course. Didn't your mama teach you any sense, sonny? Anyone can plainly see that's Powers, right?
No, they can't.
Well, I mean, I wonder.
True, Mr. Powers does play the role of Steel Samurai, but that doesn't mean Mr. Powers is the Steel Samurai.
I know it. I wasn't born yesterday.
Shout out Kodanka. He dropped one of the best albums last year. I didn't mean to haunt you.
However, you do not have proof that this person in the photo is Mr. Will Powers, do you? Nosy old man. Of course I have proof. The morning during the run-through of the action scene, I saw Powers trip and fall. He broke one of the props. It was a big mess. Apparently, he sprained his ankle pretty bad. Now look at that picture. You could see he's dragging his leg, see? Clear as day. That's how I knew it was Powers. Happy?
He broke a prop.
Sure did, his own samurai spear.
A samurai spear? The murder weapon?
Luckily, I was there with the duct tape to fix it.
Where is this Steel Samurai costume now?
Actually, well, we couldn't find it. Will the witness continue her testimony, please?
The time of poor Hammer's death was 2:30 p.m., true. The only person I saw go to the studio before then was Will Powers. No one else went there.
Look at this photograph one more time. This photo was taken by the camera at the gate of the studios, correct?
Yes, sir, sonny.
So whenever anyone passes by here, it automatically takes a picture. It's also true that the computer in the guard station records all security cam data. That very computer printed out this photo. Note that on the back of the photo are printed the words, October 15th, 2 p.m., photo number 2. The computer only held data for 1 photo on the day. Don't you think that's odd? Shouldn't this photo be photo number 1 if it was the only photo? This evidence shows that no one but 2 people went to the studio that day. Yet there's only data for 1 of the photos. Who else could have erased the data for the other photo? Only someone with access, the security lady herself.
Hey, you watch your mouth, whippersnapper. The only person I saw that day was Will Powers.
But the camera on the gate fired twice. That means 2 people went by.
Come to think of it now, I remember throwing out 1 photo that day.
Well, who in the heck was in the photo you erased?
Steel Samurai fanboys. Real freaks if you ask me. They get information about rehearsals from gosh knows where. They're always hanging about. 1 was there that day.
Didn't you just say no one else could get in? I locked the main gate so no one else could get in. Those were your words.
Well, if you must know, there's a train that goes into the employee area. The grate had been loose for a while. It leads outside. Well, that's where they come in.
So on the photo that you erased,
it was a boy, probably 2nd or 3rd grade.
We might have one of those situations where it's 2 little kids stacked up into each other like a fucking trench coat thing.
Nick, what are we gonna do?
First we play for more time. We'll start targeting someone else that could have conceivably have done this. Security lady. It was the security Wendy Woldbag. The Steel Samurai is dragging his leg in this picture. That means whoever was in the suit knew about the morning's injury. Maybe because they had been watching the action scene through. There was only one person other than Powers and Hammer who knew about the injury. The security lady, Oldbag. She was by herself. In other words, she has no alibi. She could have briefly left her post to steal the Steel Samurai costume, then slipped into Studio 1, the scene of the murder.
Why would she go to the trouble of wearing the Steel Samurai costume?
Simple, Your Honor. She knew the camera at the gate would take her picture. If she was in his costume, she could point the finger at Mr. Powers. The very same reasoning that makes Mr. Powers a suspect in this case can be used to cast doubt on Miss Oldbag's actions that day.
But why would I do something so horrible to poor Hammer?
You forget that Mr. Powers lacks a clear motive, too.
Wait a second. I'm not going to sit here and let you run off barking up the wrong tree. I'm talking. Actually, if you must know, there's something I was told not to talk about. Global Studios wanted me to keep quiet about something. There were some other people at the studio on the day of the murder. They said they had nothing to do with it, see? So they told me just to pretend they hadn't been at the studio that day. But if you were going to accusing me, I'm not going to let them get away scot-free.
We have learned there were other people at the studio on the day of the question. The director, the producer, and some bigwigs were all present. Yet as we stand here, they have not been questioned. I hold it that it's impossible to declare a verdict on the defendant, Mr. Powers.
The court acknowledges the defense's point. The prosecution will gather more information about the witness, Miss Oldbag, and more information about these other people we have just been told of. This ends the day's proceeding in the trial of Mr. Will Powers. That is all. This court is adjourned.
It's kind of crazy that I'm more dressed up for fucking Ace Attorney than I was for my prom last year. Like, dead ass. I'm gonna throw a picture on the screen. It was absolutely... probably the best fit there. A Giannis jersey and a dress shirt and a chain and some dangle earrings. What a great fit. I heard something at the trial today. They said that the director and producer were here at the day of the murder. Oh, sorry. I was in the prop storage room, so I didn't really see them. I guess they were here, though. The studio head seemed pretty eager to keep us quiet.
What the fuck is that thing? How could you not know the great Sal Manella?
Really? You're the Sal Manella? I'm so sorry. You look so... you know?
No, quite alright, really. It's fine.
Did you notice anything unusual on the day of the murder?
It was a pretty regular day. We had a run-through for the action scene in the morning. Then a meeting from lunchtime in the Studio 2 trailer. I was so busy I didn't even get a chance to eat. Sad face. Anyway, I was in a meeting from noon until 4 with the producer and some bigwigs from the network.
About the producer who was at the meeting with you?
Oh, you mean
Di Vasquez? What?
She's a genius, mad skills, all the way scary though. She brought these studios back from the brink of destruction. She's the one who made it possible for me to make the Steel Samurai.
You had a meeting with her on the day of the murder, right?
Yeah, we were together from noon to 4 p.m. the whole time.
Who exactly are these bigwigs people keep mentioning?
Oh, the boss over at the network and some sponsors. Also a few production guys. They bowed into a limousine and got here right around noon. Major tension.
Is he saying out loud, sweats? And these things that have the asterisks on them? If so, like, I don't know how to say this. Bullying work. You certainly got back to your post quickly.
Oh, the police took me away, they did. They pulled out a spare Steel Samurai costume, told me to put it on. Can you imagine? How could I, a sweet little old lady, wear a giant suit like that? As soon as they saw there was no way I could wear it, they let me go. Hey, I'm Kiddo. What's your name, sport? I'm Cody Hackins. Call me Kiddo again and I'll cut you down where you stand, evildoer.
Say, you heard anything about the incident the other day?
The Steel Samurai always wins, always. Yeah, I saw him. I saw everything. But no way am I telling you, losers.
Bottle? Why was this sitting here, I wonder?
Damn.
Di Vasquez, the producer.
Di Vasquez. She's quite beautiful. See, Phoenix knows the vision. Phoenix sees the vision. Phoenix is him. Let's keep it pushing. I don't care if she did it. She didn't do it. If she did, I'll defend her.
You wanted to know about the day of the murder.
Yes, anything you could tell us.
You know there was a meeting here at noon?
Yes, with the director and the people from the network.
Correct. Now listen closely. None of the people in the trailer that afternoon went to Studio 1. It was impossible for us to leave. The path was blocked. You saw Mr. Monkey on the way here, correct? His head fell over in the wind on the day of the murder. They didn't start moving the head out of the way until after 3. It was after 4 by the time the path was unblocked. Everyone in this trailer was stuck until the path was cleared. This path was blocked from 2:15 till after 4.
Mia, it's you. What took you so long?
Sorry, Phoenix. Maya has trouble calling me unless she's really in trouble.
What did you mean we have one lead?
The boy, of course.
So, you like the Steel Samurai? The Steel Samurai always wins. Always. Check this out. It's my fan album. I always take a picture with the Steel Samurai lands the final blow. Hey, if you want this, you can have it, lady. What's with people always giving stuff to Mia? What a life. It's because she's fucking hot. Okay, Phoenix, we gotta understand about pretty privilege and titty privilege at this point. I mean, goddamn. You were here on the day of the incident, right?
I saw everything. The Steel Samurai killed the bad guy. He used his samurai spear. Just like always, one shot, one kill. It happened so fast, I got scared. I went home after that.
I think we can say for sure that this means the Steel Samurai did it. And the director has an alibi, so it wasn't him. So the only person left who it could have been is Will Powers.
I have to admit, it's kind of a shock. But if you put this boy on the witness stand, your client will be guilty for sure.
Let's not call him then.
I think that would be wise.
Best to leave this one alone. Not so fast, pal.
I heard everything. This boy here is a key witness, and he's under police protection starting now.
Your client is now practically a dead man walking.
Drop the roof and let the smoke clear.
Perhaps that's why I feel particularly close to him.
This is no time for dead people jokes, please. Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Will Powers.
Yesterday we learned that there were other people present at the studios. Today I would like to show evidence proving they had nothing to do with the murder. The prosecution calls Mr. Salmonella to the stand.
I was at the studios around 9 in that morning. During the morning, I was doing, an action scene run through. It took a little more time than I thought. I heard that everyone else ate lunch in the employee area. But I had a meeting in the Studio 2 trailer, so I ended up skipping lunch. We were in the meeting until around 4. During the meeting, well, I'm pretty sure no one left their chair. That's about it.
So in the end you didn't get to eat?
Yeah, no steak at least. Could you believe it?
Just now you said steak at least. So you ate something other than steak?
Yeah, good call. I had some chocolate in my pocket, which I used to stave off my starvation.
There were 2 plates, the same kind of plates as the ones in the employee area. Who ate lunch there?
I was so embarrassed, I didn't mean to mention it. But I did eat, after all.
A T-bone steak, you mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, the assistant went through all that trouble. I brought it to the trailer, thinking I could eat it later.
So when exactly did you eat it?
We took one break during that meeting. I wolfed it down then.
Wait a second. He took a break? Mr. Manelli, you've just contradicted yourself. Didn't you just tell the court that you ate a T-bone steak during a break?
Mr. Manella, what's this all about?
Well, yeah, I guess we did take a little break.
I call on the witness to testify to the court about this break.
But it was only a 15-minute. 15? That was only 13 in base 12. Not enough time for someone to say commit murder in Studio 1, lol. That's only just enough time to eat a T-bone steak, if you ask me.
What time exactly did you take this break?
I'd say it was from around 2:30 or so until 2:45.
Your Honor, the testimony to this point has made one certain fact painfully clear. The people in the trailer had nothing to do with this murder. It was impossible for any of them to go to Studio 1. Something wrong, Mr. Wright? Surely you aren't suggesting one of the people in the trailer went to Studio 1. The victim was murdered at 2:30, the exact time of the break in the meeting. With 15 minutes, murder is certainly possible. Surely you knew that from 2:15 to 4, the path was blocked. I would like to relieve Mr. Manella from the stand. The court will take a 10-minute recess, after which we will hear your witness. You were present. You were at the Global Studios on the day of the incident.
You got a problem with that?
Please tell us what you saw that day.
Photographic equipment is strictly forbidden in this courtroom.
He said he wouldn't testify if he couldn't bring it.
Very well, Cody. Please testify to the court about what you saw the day of the incident. I wanted to see the Steel Samurai rehearsal just once. I found a map on the internet and went to the studios that day. I went through the woods off the path so that the old lady wouldn't catch me. I was going for the studio. I kinda got lost on the way though, for about 30 minutes. When I came to the studio, there was the Steel Samurai. It totally rocked. Right before my eyes, out came the bad guy. Of course, the Steel Samurai took him down. If I had my camera with me, that would have been the time for a shot, I tell you.
Cody, what you just said seems, well, a bit strange. Didn't you say before that you always bring your digital camera everywhere you go? You were quite clear about that. Cody, you shouldn't lie here. You understand that, right?
Yeah, so I have my camera. So what? You got a problem with that?
Yeah, I do. Cause your stupid little fucking ass was lying!
Yeah, I have my camera with me. But I was glued to the action. I couldn't take my eyes off it. The Steel Samurai, he goes for the bad guy. Wham! Then the bad guy stopped moving. He's so strong. The Steel Samurai rules.
Something's bothering me. Before you said that you couldn't take your eyes off the action, yet you missed the most important part. The witness has stated what he saw quite clearly. You know as well as I do that he's being vague. Cody, you may have seen some of the Steel Samurai's fight, but you missed the most important part, the killing blow.
Why wouldn't he watch the climax of the fight?
Because he was looking at his camera. He was trying to take a picture.
Yeah, you're right, Pops. The Steel Samurai had just escaped from the clutches of the villain, so I held up my camera to take a picture, but the lens wouldn't open in the time, so I missed it. That's all that happened.
Really, that's all that happened? Let's stop it, Cody. Listen up, Cody Hackins. I know exactly what happened that day. You took a picture.
Yeah, I took a picture.
You erased them.
Yeah.
Why would you erase a picture of your beloved Steel Samurai victorious?
Well, you know, why would I want to keep a picture like that?
I just wanted to thank you for giving me this the other day.
Huh? Oh, right.
What was it you told me then?
I always take a picture when the Steel Samurai lands the final blow.
Did you really get a picture of the Steel Samurai standing victorious over his foe? If you did, I find it hard to believe that you would just erase it. Wouldn't you keep it for your album? The Steel Samurai didn't win. That's why Cody deleted those photos. Tell the truth. The bad guy defeated the Steel Samurai.
No way, no! It's impossible. The Steel Samurai never loses. He never loses to anyone, ever!
Your Honor, the witness had revealed everything with his words. There was a reason why he lied and told us that he didn't take a picture. The same reason he erased his precious photos. For Cody, it was inconceivable that the Steel Samurai would be defeated. However, Cody witnessed the impossible. He saw the Steel Samurai lose, yet to admit what he saw would destroy everything he believed in. That's why he lied and said the Steel Samurai won. He couldn't handle the truth. That day you saw the Steel Samurai lose a fight, right? The Steel Samurai fell down. Then he didn't move. What kind of stunt are you trying to pull, right? The Steel Samurai was the murderer, not the victim. Yet according to your witness testimony, the Steel Samurai was the one who fell. Okay, we can't say there was no victim. There's a deceased individual in this scenario. He's clearly the victim. If you understand what really happened, it's actually quite simple. At the end of the fight, the Steel Samurai fell to the ground and lay still. In other words, the Steel Samurai was not the killer. He was the victim. Jack Hammer was the Steel Samurai. You're saying this man in costume was Jack Hammer? Mr. Jack Hammer left the employee area after lunch. However, no one saw him going to Studio 1, nor was there a picture of him. He waited for Mr. Powers to take a nap in the dressing room. Then he snuck into the room and stole the Steel Samurai costume. But why would the victim do such a thing? I don't know. Actually, there was one piece of data I saved. Studio 2. Well, looking at this, it's a little hard to say. I'm afraid that it could be anyone in that costume. Your opinion, Mr. Wright? I agree, Your Honor. This isn't decisive evidence. Do you not see the 2 right there, bitch? Your Honor, may I see that photo once more, please? Certainly, I don't see why not. Your Honor, look at this. I see a gate. Might I draw your attention to the number on that gate? The number? Ah, yes, well, it's hard to see, but it looks like a 2. Clearly not a 1, Your Honor, correct? Your Honor, I find it very significant that the murder took place in Studio 2. The path was blocked at 2:15. In other words, the victim went to Studio 2 before that time. Yes, I suppose that would be the case. Remember, Mr. Salmonella's testimony? Allow me to remind the court. He said no one in the trailer was guilty because they could not have gone to Studio 1. Yet in actuality, the reverse was true. Only someone in the trailer could have committed this murder. They were the only ones who had access to the scene of the crime in Studio 2. As you may recall, there is a trailer in Studio 2. Now on that day, a meeting was held in that very trailer. There was a break in the meeting corresponding to the time of death. During that break, Mr. Salmonella and Ms. D. Vasquez were outside eating a steak. They were at the scene of the crime. Give me proof that the victim, Jack Hammer, stole the costume. I found this on the table in the employee area. The same table where Mr. Hammer and Mr. Powers ate. The label reads, sleeping pills. The defendant, Mr. Powers, spent that entire afternoon sleeping. He was drugged by Mr. Hammer. I want to check this bottle for fingerprints. If my claims are true, Mr. Hammer's fingerprints should show up on this bottle. This court will suspend proceedings on the current trial for today. Very well, court is adjourned. Say, whatever happened with that empty bottle? Oh, that bottle of sleeping pills? Well, I got some good news for you about that. They found the victim, Jack Hammer's prints on the bottle. Can you tell me anything about Mr. Manella? Oh, he used to be a minor stage to video director. But something in his work caught Vasquez's eye. She brought the Steel Samurai idea to him. I hear he's pretty much at her beck and call, though. Whenever she says jump, he asks how high and all that. Apparently, 5 years ago, someone died, and it was Hammer's fault. The producer, Miss Vasquez, managed to hush it up. And that's the dirt she had on Mr. Hammer.
And that's why Mr. Hammer would do anything she said. But it was an accident, right? Why wouldn't they just make it public?
Well, you know, Mr. Hammer was a big star back then. They were afraid about what would happen to his career if word got out.
5 years ago, there was an accident, a fatal accident. What's worse, a paparazzi took a photo of it. That photo, well, it caused quite a stir. And guess who made it all better? Vasquez. She has ties to the mafia. She silenced that paparazzi. That was the beginning. After that, she became a force to be reckoned with here at the studio. Here, take this.
A photograph?
This is the picture.
Is this the trailer in Studio 2?
Hammer was supposed to fight with the bad guy on top of the stairs there. He pushed the other actor and the men fell on the flower box fence.
Miss Vasquez, you hid this incident from the press, didn't you? And you used it to control Mr. Hammer.
What would it be if it wasn't an accident?
You mean Mr. Hammer did it on purpose?
That is what I mean. Would he have let me run his life for 5 years over a mere accident? The only copy of that photo is the one you hold. Give it to me. Now.
What? This is valuable evidence.
Boys,
where the fuck did these men just come from?
they're good at erasing various things. What do you think? Would you like to be erased?
Why do you want his photograph so badly? This is Mr. Hammer's dirt, no? Why would D. Vasquez care about it all?
I'm sure you'll have plenty of time to think about that, where you're going. So long, friend. Boys, erase away.
Hold it right there. I heard everything, pal. D. Vasquez, you're coming down to the precinct with me now.
Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Will Powers. I entered the trailer, a little before noon. The meeting began at 12 p.m. sharp and ended at 4. There was to be a rehearsal afterwards, so we went to Studio 1. I was fatigued, so I had Sal take me. At 2:30, we took a 15-minute break in the meantime. Sal and I ate T-bone steaks on the table in front of the trailer. We found Hammer's body later, when we all went to Studio 1. I have a question about one part of your testimony. You were fatigued, so you had Sal take you? There was a van at Studio 2. I had him take me in that. I thought it might be risky to walk with that monkey head toppling over.
You claim you ate a T-bone steak, but I say you didn't. This plate was was on the table in the employee area. As you can see, a large bone has been left behind. Ms. Vasquez and Mr. Manella ate at a table outside the trailer, yet there were no bones left on the plates. The plates were bare. Tell me, how can a person eat a T-bone steak and not leave the bone? I think I know how. You didn't eat any steak during that break. Ms. Vasquez left the trailer to eat her steak. She ran into the Steel Samurai. And then you did it. You killed him with your own hands.
Let us have a battle of wits, you and I. I am, as you can see, a woman of petite stature. How could I possibly use that heavy spear as a weapon?
The samurai spear was not the murder weapon.
What is the meaning of this? The spear was found lying next to the victim's body.
I can prove that the samurai spear was not used as a murder weapon. I present my proof. The so-called murder weapon. I remember that this spear broke during the morning of the action scene, but someone fixed the spear. It was the security lady. She fixed it with duct tape. Now tell me, how is it possible for someone to stab a man who was wearing a thick costume with this through the chest? This photograph is from 5 years ago. There was an unfortunate accident at Global Studios. See the fallen man on this photo? See how the fence post pierced him through the chest? What happened 5 years ago has happened again. Miss D. Vasquez meets Jack Hammer outside the Studio 2 trailer. She pushed Mr. Hammer off the stairs onto the fence, just like Mr. Hammer had done himself 5 years ago. Though whether she did it on purpose or by accident, I can't say.
Let's say, for the sake of argument, that Hammer died the way you say. Yet the body was found at Studio 1, was it not? And in the evil magistrate costume, no less. Are you then claiming that I carried the body to Studio 1 and returned to the trailer all in the space of a 15-minute break?
How could I have disposed of the body? You carried the body to Studio 1, and you used the studio van to do it. Then before everyone else got there, you put the body into the magistrate's costume. Don't forget it was Sal Manella that drove the van. Are you suggesting that Mr. Manella was a conspirator? The body had to be placed in the van and put in the costume. There's no way Miss Vasquez could have done that alone. Also, don't forget that they had to dispose of the Steel Samurai costume. They had to because it was covered in Mr. Hammer's blood. They probably burned it in that small incinerator.
You're smarter than you look, Mr. White. I lose. You win. It was fun.
So, what happens next?
We just engaged in a battle of wits. And the result of that battle, you proved the possibility that I murdered Hammer. But that is only a possibility. Proof is another thing altogether.
I request that the witness testify again. I want to hear about what happened after they found the body.
I was with Sal and Oldbag, the security lady, when we found the body. The assistant was there too, only Powers was absent. I immediately called the police, then Powers showed up. The security lady, Oldbag, was quite agitated, pointing out Powers, saying he did it. I asked to be left out of the proceedings. I went back to the trailer to get my script and direction notes. Then I went home.
I thought you came to the Studio 1 for a rehearsal. Why didn't you bring your script and notes?
Well, I was under the impression that we wouldn't be able to rehearse anything.
Why?
There was a murder after all. Who could think of rehearsing after that?
What? No. You would bring your notes before. You didn't know that there was a murder before that. What are you talking about?
Very well, Miss Vasquez. Please continue.
Your Honor, I have an objection to the witness's last statement. Miss Vasquez says she didn't bring the script because there wouldn't be a rehearsal. Don't you see what that means? She would have to know there was a murder before going to Studio 1. That's what I said. Yo, me and fucking Edgeworth are kind of twizzed up right now. Do you have an explanation?
So the prosecution is in cahoots with the defense. What kind of court is this? I had a perfectly good reason to believe that there would be no rehearsal. I knew that Hammer was injured and couldn't do anything at the scene, so I left them behind.
You knew that Hammer was injured. Don't you think that's a little funny? It was Will Powers. Yes, Mr. Hammer is dragging his leg in this photo, but that's because he was pretending to be Mr. Powers. Now, why did you think it was Mr. Hammer who was injured? You saw Mr. Hammer limping with your own eyes. He was pretending to be Mr. Powers. And when was he doing this?
It would have to have been after he put on the steel costume and went to Studio 2 where he was murdered.
Exactly. You met him, didn't you? You saw the Steel Samurai limping, and Mr. Hammer was in the Steel Samurai suit. That's why you were confused. That's why you thought it was Mr. Hammer who had been injured that morning. Can you refute this claim?
Very well. I have a question for you. Why in the world would I want Mr. Hammer dead? Yes, he'd fallen on hard times, but he was a star. I had nothing to gain from his death.
Does she have a motive? Reveal evidence? Or she had no motive?
Do I think I have evidence? No. Do I have evidence? Probably. That's how this game goes. Allow me to present the court evidence proving Miss Vasquez's motive. I don't have anything. She had no motive, Your Honor.
What's that now?
It was Mr. Hammer who was out for blood. All Miss Vasquez did was push him off the stairs in self-defense. Mr. Hammer was intending to kill Miss Vasquez. Jack Hammer drugged Mr. Powers while with sleep. Oh my fucking! Jack Hammer drugged Mr. Powers Jack Hammer drugged Mr. Powers with sleeping pills. Jack Hammer snuck into the dressing room and stole the Steel Samurai's costume. Jack Hammer wore the costume to fool the security lady into thinking he was Powers. Then Jack Hammer made his way into the trailer. And for what purpose, you ask? To kill D. Vasquez, who had so cruelly taken advantage of him. I fucked up the line I don't need to fuck up. To kill D. Vasquez, who had cruelly... To kill D. Vasquez, who had so cruelly taken advantage of him all those years. So you did do it, didn't you?
Yes, I am guilty. It was me. This court finds the defendant, Mr. Will Powers,
Not guilty. Okay, so I played the first episode. The first episode's like an hour and a half or so. So I thought every episode would be around an hour and a half. Every other episode since then has been 3 hours. This is a bigger video than I thought it would be. 15 years is a long time to wait. You can't imagine how much I've been suffering. You've suffered, but now the perfect opportunity has presented itself at last. I shall have my revenge. What? Merry Christmas, motherfucker. Oh! Do not tell me that is Edgeworth.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special news bulletin. Strange occurrences continue at Gold Lake, but this time it's meta. The body of a man was found in the lake early this morning. A suspect was apprehended. Sources inside the police department revealed that the suspect's name is Miles Edgeworth, age 24.
Detective Gumshoe, do you know what happened here?
There was a boat out on Gourd Lake. In that boat, there were 2 men. One of those men shot the other one with a pistol.
And the shooter was Mr. Edgeworth?
A cop who arrived on the scene arrested him.
Let me go and ask to be his lawyer. He'll probably deny me, and then we'll have another conversation, I'll probably have to do some more bullshit, and then I'll become his lawyer. Edgeworth, tell me what happened.
Why should I? What are you gonna do about it?
We're gonna help you, that's what.
Help me? You? Don't be ridiculous. You're a novice. You've only been in 3 trials.
And I won every single one. And 2 of them were on your fucking head. So I won't talk like... I won't... you got it. Never mind, you're right. Let me defend you.
Good one, right?
Well, I'm not that hard up. Not yet. Excuse me? You're not that hard? Yet?
My case is near hopeless, right? Every defense attorney I've talked to has turned me down. You, in particular, I cannot ask to do this.
Hey, how about you, like, put your pride to the side and, like, let me get on with this shit, bitch?
Look, someone's camping. They were camping here last night. They might know something about the murder.
Yo!
You thought I was feeling you? Like, who the fuck? Is that Ice Spice? But from Ohio? They didn't make Ice Spice Midwestern. Isn't New York part of the Midwest? That doesn't seem right. Never mind. Ignore that.
I'm Lotta Hart, but y'all can call me Lotta. I'm here photographing meteor showers for a research project.
Might have pleased to meet you. A man on a boat was shot. Did you see anything?
I reckon I might have seen one, not sure though. Y'all gotta remember I've been watching this here lake a good 3 days now. I've seen enough boats to choke a mule. Kinda hard to remember which one I seen when. So, what's the device you have stuck to the camera?
That mic triggers the shutter whenever it detects a certain sound. It's programmed to pick up loud noises right now. Your camera didn't get a picture of the murder, did it? Tell you what, I'll have to look and see it in my film.
She went inside her SUV. I guess we should come back later.
I was wondering, did you get that autopsy report?
Oh, that? Yeah, I made a copy for you.
Hey, y'all. My automatic camera took 2 pictures last night. This is them. Take a look. See? He's shooting him with a pistol.
Yeah, it looks like that, yeah.
But you can't really tell who's shooting. I saw the murder happen. I'm a witness.
You saw the murder and you forgot.
Okay, that's interesting. Y'all reckon I still the cops?
I reckon so. Larry? What are you doing here?
Isn't it obvious, dude? I'm working my job.
Nick, a monster. A real monster.
Yeah. It's probably just a log or someone's hand.
Could you show me that autopsy report once more? I remember now. This guy, he's a lawyer that worked at the office Mia worked at. I met him once when I went there to hang out with Sis.
You mean Grossberg's office?
Right, that guy.
Well, Miles Edgeworth shot someone with a pistol.
Edgeworth? What? Who did he shoot? He was a lawyer here in my office. That's Hammond. Robert Hammond. And you say this is the man Miles Edgeworth shot.
Who is this Hammond guy anyway?
He was the defense attorney in that case.
That case?
Yes, the DL6 incident. That was the incident where the police were so at a loss they used the spirit medium. The spirit medium, Miss DeFay, your mother, contacted the spirit of the victim. But the case was a loss. No conviction was made. The victim in the DL6 incident was none other than his father, Gregory Edgeworth. If you want to know more, you should ask him yourself. Show him this. I'm sure he'll talk to you. The DL6 incident happened 15 years ago. 15 years ago on December 28th. The statute of limitations on the case runs out in 3 days.
What happened to the suspect?
He disappeared from public view. Nobody knows where to. If he's still alive, he'd be about 50 years old now. It pains me to ask you this now. Will you defend me?
Who could have guessed this day would come?
What's that?
An earthquake? Nick, it's a big one.
Huh? Where's Edgeworth? He's on the floor and the ball shivering.
I guess he doesn't do so well with earthquakes.
Manfred von Conley. He's the best prosecutor there is. He hasn't lost a case in his 40-year career. He'll do anything to get a guilty verdict. Anything. Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Miles Edgeworth.
Please take a look at the map. There was one boat in the middle of the lake. There were 2 men on the boat. Now, there happened to be a woman camping here on the edge of the lake. At 12:10 a.m., she heard 2 pistol shots. Then the boat started to move. It went towards the boat rental shop. A man called into the station around 30 minutes after midnight. We headed to the scene of the crime as fast as we could. That's where we found Mr. Edgeworth. Now, I didn't suspect him of anything at all, but the next morning, the body was found in the lake. So we had to arrest Mr. Edgeworth. Did you find any clues on the body? A single bullet was recovered from the body. He was shot through the heart, fatally.
Judge, here's the bullet. It didn't strike bones, so its shape is well preserved.
Well, we found the murder weapon in the boat.
The murder weapon?
A pistol. What about this pistol made it decisive evidence? There were fingerprints on the pistol found in the boat. They were clear prints from Mr. Edgeworth's right hand.
Judge, this is the weapon in question.
It fired 3 times. It fired 3 times. There was only 1 shot that landed, but the lady only heard 2 shots. We have a bit of a contradiction.
The bullet found in the victim's heart was without a doubt fired from this pistol. This pistol, which as you may recall, was covered with the defendant's own fingerprints.
I'd say it's almost decisive, yes. Honestly, I could declare a verdict at this point. However,
You wish to hear the witness speak, no doubt. Very well.
It was Christmas Eve just after midnight, I reckon. I was in my car. I heard this bang come from the lake. When I looked out the window, I saw 2 gents in a boat. Then there was another bang. There wasn't an area thing on the lake but that boat.
could you clearly see the 2 men?
Just to look at the picture. Ain't that clear enough for you?
I wasn't asking you about the photo. I was asking if you saw the 2 men.
I saw him, I swear. I saw Edgeworth.
There's something I want you to see in this photo. It's quite clearly visible. The fog, Miss Hart. This picture was taken with professional high film, right? Yet, even it could not capture the faces of the men on the boat. Yet you claim you saw Mr. Edgeworth.
How? You're right. It was a cold night and the fog was thick as grits. So once I finished setting up my camera, I got back in my car. Still, I brought my binoculars with me. Then I heard that noise out on the lake. I looked with my binoculars. See, no problem.
You were photographing shooting stars. That's a lie.
Says who?
I saw the camera you set up yesterday. It was pointed directly at the lake. You have to point a camera upwards to take photos of the stars, Miss Hart. The witness was not at the lake to photograph shooting stars, Your Honor. Miss Hart, this is what you were trying to photograph. What's this, a newspaper article? Gordy? Ah, the sighting at the Gordy Lake. Well, Miss Hart?
I never heard of no lake monster. You got some proof or something? Let's say you proved that I was down at the lake trying to photograph this Gordy.
The proof, Miss Hart, is your own camera. Your camera was set to take photos in response to loud noises, correct? Thus, this photograph here was taken when a gun fired on the lake. And here, this article about Gordy. According to this article, Gordy made a loud noise when it emerged. You were trying to get the photograph of Gordy, weren't you? That's why you had to set your camera to respond to loud noises.
That don't change what I saw, does it?
Exactly. What you just used several precious minutes of our time to prove is nothing more than the witness is an idiot who thinks monsters exist. Miss Hart, why did you hide the fact that you were searching for Gordy from the court? Please revise your testimony.
Actually, I'm not a research student at a university. I'm an investigative photographer. Imagine what a scoop it'd be if I got a picture of that monster. That's why I was camping out by the lake. But that's all I was hiding. When I heard the bang, I looked straight outside at the lake. There wasn't much else to look at, so I just watched the boat the whole time. Then I saw a flash near one of the men's hand, and I heard another gunshot. I was looking right at the boat the entire time.
Were you really looking at the boat?
What's it with you? Of course I was looking at it.
You were camping at the lake to take a picture of Gordy. Think about it. What would you do if you heard a loud noise? You'd be scanning the lake for any sign of Gordy, that's what. You wouldn't give the boat a second thought. You testified that you were watching the boat through binoculars. However, you wouldn't need binoculars to watch that boat. You needed them to search for Gordy, and that's what you were doing.
I did sort of take my binoculars and kind of scan the lake a bit. I mean, Gordy might be out there and all.
Are you saying that you were not watching the boat then?
Sorry, y'all.
I was fibbing, really. Ms. Hart, look at the photograph. You enlarged this photograph, did you not?
Yeah, I did.
Why has the enlarged not been pressed to the court?
Because it does not exist.
What are y'all talking about? You were the one who told me not to show it in the court in the first place. You old fool. Oh, she got his ass. Oh my goodness, Miss Hart.
What's the meaning of this, Mr. Von Karma? Miss Hart, show the photo to the court. We cannot see who is firing this. It could be the defendant, or maybe not. Regardless, I'll accept it as evidence. The person who's shooting it is left-handed. There is something decidedly strange with this enlargement. What might that be? Look at the hand holding the pistol, Your Honor. The hand directly contradicts another piece of evidence. Edgeworth's right hand, and he's shooting it with the left. Okay, yep, we got him. The evidence is clear. The man in this photograph is holding that pistol in his left hand. However, the prints on the murder weapon were from Edgeworth's right hand. Ergo, the man shooting the pistol in this photograph is not Mr. Edgeworth. If Mr. Edgeworth didn't do it, then who did? As we have seen, there were no other people on the lake that night. Who but the defendant could have shot the victim?
Larry, you're gonna place it on your mans? That's fucking crazy.
There's only one explanation remaining. The man who shot the victim was none other than the victim himself. So you are saying that the victim committed suicide? Yes, Your Honor. I can think of no other explanation. I'm so very sorry, Mr. Wright, but suicide is out of the question. What? An examination of the victim's wound would reveal the distance at which he shot. The victim was clearly shot from further than a meter away. A meter? That's 3 feet. There's no way it could have been suicide. The court offers the defense and the prosecution to further investigate this matter. That is all. This court has adjourned.
Well, you see,
Actually, I got a bit of information for you. That Von Karma didn't want me to say nothing about it. See, I reckon we might be able to do ourselves a little exchange. The only fair exchange for information is information. It's gonna be something about Gordy, and I'm gonna get pissed off. Listen good. What I need from you is information about...
Detective Gumshoe will aid you in your search for Gordy. I'll loan you one of our newest secret weapons for finding evidence, a metal detector.
It's beeping. The metal detector found something.
Whatever it is, it must be one of those bushes. Go check it out, Maya.
Huh? An air tank?
Say, is this air tank yours? Why would I have something like that? Look, see how there's strings of flags around the valve? It's just like the string of flags around your steel samurai there. So I took the tank and tried to fill the samurai up with that. And then, the valve busted open and made this incredible noise. And the tank there took off like a rocket. It took my poor deflated steel samurai with it. Well, all that happened on the 20th or so. So I went out every night in a boat looking for it. It flew way out there. It took me 4 whole days to find it. Sorry for not telling you, Nick. Actually, I was here on the night of the murder. But you see, I went home before midnight.
So you didn't know what happened?
So it wasn't the gourd, it was Larry fucking Butts.
Well, Mr. Lawyer, I've got info y'all need. Y'all got the scoop on Gordy for me yet?
Gordy doesn't exist.
I overheard the cops around here saying something about the witness tomorrow. They say he's the caretaker of the boat rental place up the path here, the night of the murder. My camera clicked twice, you know. Wait, so you have another photo? Yeah, but there's nothing in it at all. Just a lake. I figured it wouldn't be much of evidence, so I kept it to myself. Might not be helpful at all, but here, take it.
We're here to investigate a murder that took place on this lake the other day. Alright, I'll help. I forget the time, but it was pretty dark outside. Probably night, yep. Then I heard this bang, so I looked outside. Then I heard another one, bang! A little while later, this boat comes back. Then a young man walked by my window here. He was muttering something to himself, yep.
What did he say?
I forgot.
Squawk! Don't forget DL6. What did she just say, Nick?
One more time, Polly.
Don't forget DL6.
What? The DL6 incident?
Why would that bird Polly know about DL6?
We have to figure out who that old man is. We need to know about the DL6 incident. I can't help but think it has something to do with this current case. Through there is the station's records room. I'll give you a special permission to go in and get what you need. I don't think that is the dude who killed Edgeworth's dad, because he seems too old. He said he would be around 50 years old right now. Let's just say that motherfucker looks about 70. There was a large earthquake at 2 p.m. on that day. Part of the court building collapsed and all the lights went out. At the time, 3 people were trapped in that elevator. It took 5 hours for them to be rescued. There was a lack of oxygen in the elevator and the survivors were unconscious. One of the 3 in the elevator had been shot in the heart. From the angle of the bullet and other evidence, it could not have been suicide. The murder weapon, a pistol, was found in the elevator. The pistol had been fired 2 times. The suspect, Mr. Yogi, was oxygen deprived so much he had brain damage. He lost all memory of being in the elevator. After he was declared innocent, he disappeared. Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Miles Edgeworth. Today's trial will end in 3 minutes from now. I hope so I don't have to edit that much. The witness does not remember anything beyond the last several years. Ergo, he cannot recall his own name. Very well. Let's hear his testimony then, shall we, witness? It was the night of the 24th, just after midnight, yep. I was at the restaurant, I read boats as usual. Then I heard a bang, yep. When I looked out the window, I saw a boat just floating on the lake. Then I heard another bang. Just about then, the boat comes back to shore and a man walks by my window. He said, "I can't believe he's dead," as he was walking by, too. Witness, are you sure this person was Miles Edgeworth? It was him, that Edgeworth boy. That motherfucker just died. No, Siri, I don't want anything. Leave me alone. So you can't hear me now, but you could hear me earlier? Are we for real? Like, what the fuck do you want, girl? Everything in this witness's testimony is true. The judge is lost in thought. What should I do? Raise an objection. Why would I wait and see what happens? Because nothing is gonna happen good. Huh? This witness claims that Edgeworth said, "I can't believe he's dead," but his words is all we have. If he were telling a lie, if you say his testimony is a lie, show us proof. Enough. The witness may leave the stand. This case is extremely clear. I see no room for misinterpretation of the facts. This court finds the defendant, Miles Edgeworth, guilty. The accused will surrender to the court immediately, to be held pending trial at a higher court within a month from today's date. That is all. This court is adjourned. Who was that just now? I'm gonna guess it's Gumshoe, so I'm gonna go with his voice real quick. Me? Huh? What? Larry? I was there in the park the night of the murder. I wasn't sure about it until yesterday. But I remembered it. Remembered what? The gunshot. I heard it too. If there's another witness, it's our duty to hear him speak. I withdraw my previous verdict of guilty. Mr. Von Karma, I order you to call this new witness to testify. That night I was out on the boat. I was looking for something and I found it. So I quietly slipped the boat back in a rental shop. Then just as I was thinking about going home, I heard this bang. I looked out over the lake, but I didn't see a boat. So after I heard the single gunshot, I went home. So he says he heard 1 shot. This Lada says she heard 2 shots. You only heard 1 bang. You're sure?
That's what I said.
But Miss Lotta Hart testified yesterday that she heard 2, and the old man just now said the same thing. They both heard 2 gunshots that night. Were you even listening? Were you paying attention at all to what they said?
Well, to tell you the truth, I'm not sure. I might have missed the other gunshot. I was, listening to something else. My radio, dude, with my headphones. It's lonely being alone on Christmas Eve. That's why I was listening to All Request Show on the radio. I was listening to it real booming loud, but I'm sure I heard that gunshot. I remember exactly what the DJ was saying when I heard it too. Just what she said.
Hey, it's almost Christmas. I heard the gunshot. That helps us because if it's almost Christmas, that means it's not 12. The DJ said, hey, it's almost Christmas when he heard the gunshot. Indeed, and almost Christmas means it wasn't Christmas. Do you realize what this means? When he heard the gunshot, it was still Christmas Eve, but he should have heard the gunshot after midnight. This photograph is irrefutable proof of this fact. This is a clear contradiction, Your Honor.
The 2 prior witnesses heard gunshots after midnight. However, this witness says he heard a gunshot before midnight.
That's why there's 3 bullets missing from the pistol.
Show me evidence there was a gunshot before midnight.
Look at this photograph. This was taken by our witness yesterday, Miss Lotta Hart, with her automatic camera. The timestamp on the photo reads December 24th, 11:50 p.m.
But there's nothing on the lake in this picture.
The real issue here is not why nothing is shown in the photograph. It is why the photograph exists at all. That camera was set to go off in response to loud noises. There was a loud noise on the lake at 11:50 p.m. When Larry heard that gunshot, it was most definitely still Christmas Eve. That night, there were 2 sets of gunshots, a 25-minute pause between them.
Can you prove that the loud noise at 11:50 was indeed a gunshot?
This is my evidence.
The murder weapon.
Something about this pistol was bothering me, Your Honor. Both of the witnesses who testified yesterday heard 2 gunshots. However, the murder weapon fired 3 times. The testimony just now has cleared up the entire case.
Tisk. So you finally realized the truth. There could be no other murderer than Miles Edgeworth himself.
Wrong, Von Karma. A man was shot that night, but it wasn't Edgeworth who did the shooting. And the murderer killed Robert Hammond at 11:50. He assumed the guise of Mr. Hammond and met Edgeworth. That night, Robert Hammond called Edgeworth to the lake. Now, Edgeworth didn't know Robert Hammond's face that well. That's why he didn't suspect anything when the murderer took Robert Hammond's place.
Tell us the name of the murderer then.
The murderer's name? Right. I know it, actually. Yanni Yogi.
It's Yanni Yogi!
Actually, I don't know the murderer's name.
You don't know?
I don't know, because he never told us. The murderer is the caretaker of the boat shop. At 11:50, he was the one who killed Robert Hammond. May I suggest that the real scene of this crime was not on a boat?
Well then, where did the murder take place?
We'll go with this. Here, of course, the boat shop where he lives. That way he can meet the victim without anyone seeing. He heard a gunshot, Your Honor, even though he was wearing headphones at the time. In other words, the gunshot was very close. And where would that be if he had just returned to boat?
The boat shop?
The witness has disappeared. He isn't at the boat shop either.
What?
What should I do?
Find him quickly. We cannot allow him to get away. It goes without saying that I cannot declare a verdict under these circumstances. I will extend the trial until tomorrow, the final day allowed. It's a nightmare I've had. A memory of a crime that I committed.
Crime you committed?
A memory of a murder.
Did he kill his dad? My homie wanted me to edit a Rainbow Six clip for him, maybe for TikTok or some shit, I'm not really sure. But the footage I got sent was really something. How does one edit this? I, myself, would say I'm a pretty decent editor. I'm not God.
Polly, what's the number to the safe? 1228. Let's open it, Nick. Come on.
Get your revenge on Miles Edgeworth. It also says this is your last chance. Now is the time to get revenge on the 2 men who ruined your life. The rest of the letter goes on to describe the murder plot in detail. How to kill Robert Hammond and frame Edgeworth. When he killed Robert Hammond and called out Edgeworth, he was following instructions. 2 men, meaning myself and Robert Hammond.
It also says this is your last chance.
Last chance. Wait, maybe he's talking about the statute of limitations on the DL6 incident.
Yogi. Could he be Yogi?
Why would he want to take revenge on you?
There's something that's been troubling me these last few days. I didn't know whether or not I should tell you.
You mean the nightmare?
For the last 15 years, I've had the same dream almost every night. It's a dream about my father's killing in the dark. In the days, I picked up the pistol.
Get away! Get away from my father!
And with that scream, I wake. It's a bone-chilling scream. A scream that has rung in my ears for the past 15 years. Maybe it was I who killed my father.
If you think about it that way, this letter makes sense.
I see. So Edgeworth dreamt he shot his own father. When Gregory Edgeworth was killed, the police called on a spirit medium. That was your mother, Misty Fey. I am Gregory Edgeworth. I have been killed. The one who shot me was the bailiff, Yanni Yogi. It seems the one who lied was Gregory Edgeworth's ghost. I've seen this handwriting somewhere before, a long time ago. This is Von Karma's handwriting, I'm sure of it. He may be seeking to satisfy a grudge against Gregory by hurting his son. Von Karma got the guilty verdict he wanted. He won the trial, but Gregory Edgeworth accused Von Karma of faulty evidence. And though he lost the trial, Mr. Edgeworth's accusation stood. It was the only penalty Von Karma has ever received in his career, as it must have been quite a shock for Von Karma. He took a vacation for several months after that, you see.
Do I show this to him? This is a bad idea, but I'm gonna do it. Mr. Von Karma, have a look at this. This was you, wasn't it? You instructed Yanni Yogi to commit murder. Thank you for taking the trouble of bringing it to me. You've saved me from a lot of needless hassle. 600,000 volts will course through your body like a dog touching an electric fence. Now give me the letter.
No! Nick, run!
I think this dude's like 24, and Maya's like 17. We can't outrun this old-ass man. Maya! Out of my way. Phoenix, you had time to run? Maya literally took a fucking taser for you, and you didn't even move. L-mans. Why would we show him the fucking thing? That's so stupid. You need to bring it up in court. But I guess I have to do this to progress the story. Whatever. Maya, she's holding something. A bullet? DL6 incident, evidence number 7. Taken from the heart of Gregory Edgeworth. Court is now in session for the trial of Miles Edgeworth. Thanks to Detective Gumshoe's efforts, the boat rental shop caretaker has been arrested.
Oh, I'm really sorry about leaving yesterday. I wasn't run away or nothing. I went to buy some food for Polly, see? I figured I got nothing to do with the incident anyhow. I need one of those motive things, right? And I don't got one. So my testimony yesterday stands as is.
You're Yanni Yogi, and I'm gonna prove it. The witness has said he had nothing to do with this case and no motive. Both of these statements are lies. Are you saying you know who this witness is? Of course I do. His name is Yanni Yogi, a former court bailiff. Yanni Yogi from the DL6 incident. If this man is Mr. Yogi, then he has a clear motive. Perhaps you'd like to cross-examine his parrot for a little comic relief, Wait a minute. Cross-examine his parrot? The defense would like to take Mr. Von Karma up on his proposal. I would like to cross-examine the witness's pet parrot. Mr. Wright, I think we've established that this parrot's name is Polly. Does this have anything to do with her owner's identity? Yes, it does. It's gotta be something in here. Polly Jenkins committed suicide. That's got something to do with the name. Hold on. This page has all the information about Yanni Yogi. Right after he was arrested, his fiancée committed suicide, see? Indeed, it does say that, yes. What was his fiancée's name? Polly. Exactly, Your Honor. He wanted to remember the name of his fiancée who had committed suicide. That's why he named his parrot after her. It's just a mere coincidence. Alone, it is very little weak evidence in a murder trial. We would need some other corroborating evidence. Maybe I'll get her to say the number of the safe. 1228, 1228. My, what a reckless parrot. Well, Mr. Wright, you aren't claiming that the number has something to do with the caretaker. Actually, it does. That's why I had her say it. Huh. Ridiculous. How can the number to his safe tell us who the caretaker is? Okay, there has to be some kind of number inside where 1228. 12/28/2001. 1228. There we go. It's in the case summary. Specifically the date on which the DL6 incident occurred. The date of the incident? December 28th. Why, that's today's date. 15 years ago. And the number on that safe is 1228. He used the date of the DL6 incident as the number for his safe, Your Honor. That's how important that day was to him. Please state your name to the court.
My name is Yanni Yogi. 15 years ago, I served as a bailiff in this very courtroom.
Yanni Yogi. So was it you who killed Robert Hammond and tried to frame Miles Edgeworth for his death?
Yes, it was me. I did it. They put me on the witness stand 15 years ago. Robert Hammond, he said I was mentally unsound. He told me it would make me innocent, get me off the hook. So I pretended to have a brain damage. I was innocent, really, but he didn't believe me. We won the trial, but I lost everything. I lost my job, my fiancé, my social standing. Then this year, 15 years later, a package arrived. It was a letter and a pistol. The plan was written out in careful detail. It was a plan for me to take my revenge on the people who ruined my life.
This court finds the defendant, Mr. Miles Edgeworth, not guilty. We fucking did it. We did it. Oh, yeah. Rain the confetti. Yeah. That is all. The court is adjourned. I swear, if fucking Miles Edgeworth starts talking and admitting that he killed his father, I will be pissed. Objection! Here he goes. Here's this dumbass. Your Honor, I object to your judgment. As we have heard, Yanni Yogi killed Robert Hammond in revenge. But revenge for what? Yanni Yogi wasn't the killer. You mean in the incident where your father died? From the distance of the shot, it wasn't suicide either. Everything was as clear as day. The murderer, the criminal in the DL6 incident, it was me, Your Honor. I confess my guilt. Miles Edgeworth has admitted his own guilt. He has confessed to his crime. Let us begin by hearing his testimony. Then, though pointless, let's let the defense do their cross-examining. The statute of limitations on the DL6 incident runs out today. Though it's unconventional for me, I'd like to run this one by the book. That day, I'd gone to the courtroom to observe my father's trial. As we went to leave, an earthquake struck, trapping us in the elevator. My father and Mr. Yogi lost their composure and began to argue. Just then, something heavy fell at my feet. I picked it up and threw it at Mr. Yogi. I wanted them to stop fighting. A moment later, there was a single gunshot, then a scream. It was a terrible scream. I remember it to this day. That's all. The gun fired once. Yes. Something doesn't feel right. Why is there a shot right at the window? Did he get shot from Outside, the murder weapon was fired twice. Are you sure you only heard one gunshot?
Yes, I'm sure of that.
It says quite plainly, the murder weapon was fired twice. The first shot was the accidental firing when the pistol was thrown. So, who fired the remaining shot?
Do you have any proof that the other shot fired had something to do with the case? This is a photograph of the scene of the crime, 15 years ago. I can see that the victim lying there is Gregory Edgeworth.
This proves the murder weapon was fired twice at the time of the incident. This photo proves it. Gregory Edgeworth was killed by a shot from a pistol. Yet there's also a bullet hole in the elevator door. We also know that the murder weapon was fired twice. Thus, someone other than Edgeworth fired that second shot.
Your boy has got a fucking brain on him.
At the time of the incident, 2 shots were fired. One went into Gregory Edgeworth's heart, and the other one hit the elevator door. Remember that the defendant lost consciousness after the first shot rang out. In conclusion, we must agree that the second shot was fired by someone else.
If the pistol had indeed been fired 2 times, then the other bullet would have been discovered on the scene. That second bullet has never been found, because the second bullet doesn't exist.
It's just someone took it from the scene of the crime. That's what happened.
So the criminal took the second bullet, but why? What's wrong, Mr. Wright? The murderer had no reason to take that bullet. You don't want to admit it, but it's true.
Had to take it.
Had to take it? The murderer? What does that mean?
You're thinking too normal. Think crazy. Don't think why the bullet was taken. Think why the bullet had to be taken.
Well, the murderer had no intention of taking the bullet from the scene, but the murderer had to take the bullet. Maybe the bullet hit the murderer? I mean, if it hit you, you would have to take it with you, wouldn't you? The 2 men fight inside the elevator. Trying to stop them, the boy picks up the pistol at his feet and throws it. The pistol discharges in the bullet goes through the elevator door and hits a murderer outside. The boy loses consciousness, then the murderer opens the elevator door and sees the men inside.
What if Von Karma didn't take that vacation because of a shock?
But he took it because he was injured. It could only mean one thing. He is the murderer. Bro cared about his KD so bad he just shot someone.
Can you give us the name of your suspect?
Von Karma.
You don't object? I see no need. Why honor this ridiculous outburst with my objection?
Because you took a vacation for several months starting the day after the incident. Yet you pride yourself on a perfect record. Why don't you take such a long vacation without any reason?
So you're claiming that I took a vacation to heal my injury from the incident. Fascinating. Prove it. I would have needed surgery, no? Where did I go under the knife at, Mr. Wright? Bring the doctor that operated on me. Have him testify.
The bullet has to be somewhere inside of him.
Can you produce evidence that prove that I was shot?
I'm gonna use a metal detector and put it on his body because it's still inside of him. There is still a possibility that the bullet is inside of him.
Is that even possible for all these years?
Well, there's one way to find out. We could use this metal detector. Well, Von Karma, I'm gonna run this over you and see what we find.
Judge, I call for a suspension of this trial. This is an invasion of privacy.
I permit the use of the metal detector. Bro, no fucking way. That was it. Okay.
Indeed, there is a bullet in my shoulder. However, it has nothing to do with this incident. I was shot in the shoulder long before the DL6 incident. I claim that the bullet in my shoulder has no relation to DL6. Can you prove that the bullet in Mr. Von Karma's shoulder was from DL6?
This is the bullet used in the DL6 incident. This was taken from the heart of the victim, Mr. Gregory Edgeworth. This bullet is preserved quite nicely with all the ballistic markings intact. We have 2 bullets in our possession. One, the bullet removed from Gregory Edgeworth's heart. The other, Mr. Von Karma, is the bullet buried in your shoulder. We can analyze both bullets, then if the markings match, we would know that both the bullets have been fired from the same gun. Well, Mr. Von Karma? Okay, I'm done. I'm not fucking voice acting that. What is wrong with him?
It's that scream I heard in the elevator. Von Karma, it was you who screamed. Mr. Von Karma. Only you would dare defy me. You and your father are my curse. Your father shamed me with a penalty on my record. And you left a scar on my shoulder that would never fade. I'll bury you with my bare hands. Death.
So we need to get him locked up and put in a fucking room with padded walls and make sure he can't harm himself any further, because what the fuck?
This court finds the defendant, Mr. Miles Edgeworth, not guilty.
Yeah, bring the confetti again, bitch. Confetti on fetti. I can't go in, I ain't ready.
That is all, this court is adjourned. I'm not sure how to say this.
I know. Try say thank you.
Thank you, right? You're welcome. Tonight, let's party. Dinner's on me.
See, Mr. Edgeworth, you should take a lesson from Detective Gumshoe. That's how you say thank you.
Whoa! I feel foolish.
Hey, photo time, let's go.
And after that, dinner on me. I went a little overboard yesterday. My head hurts. What's this, a letter?
So I've decided to go back to my training. I'll become a full-fledged spirit medium for starters. I couldn't say it to your face, so I left this note. Goodbye.
So, you're leaving?
I'll be back soon.
Huh?
I'm gonna complete my training and come back.
Oh, alright. I'll wait. And so, my story ends. Time to turn to a new page. and say goodbye to the novice defense attorney that I once was. Oh my gosh, that was a lot longer than I thought it'd be. You love to see it. Wholesomeness. We love to see it at the end of No. Why did I just sit through 10 minutes of credits just to get hit with another episode? Looks like this video is coming out on Saturday. I'm ruining my upload streak because this game is long as fuck. Whoa, 2 towers where deaths happened? I wonder when that's happened before. It's been 2 months since Maya left the office. 2 months without a single trial. I've had offers, but none I took. That is, until the day that girl showed up. Is this Maya? She got the same build, but different hair color, and she's like a cool foot taller. What is an easy voice I can give her that will not hurt my throat, but also makes sense for her character?
Where have you been? My sister's trials tomorrow.
Who the fuck are you?
It doesn't matter who I am, it only matters who you are. The famous defense attorney, Mia Fey. You're not Mia Fey, are you?
I'm sorry, but Miss Mia Fey, she is gone to another plane of existence. I'm Phoenix Wright, a defense attorney. It literally says Wright & Co. Law Offices on the door. I don't know how you missed that, girl.
The Phoenix Wright from the Edgeworth murder case.
Yeah, that's me.
That's really thin, you're better than anybody. Please, you have to help me. It's my sister.
Okay, I'll hear you out. Emma, was it? So you're a scientific investigator?
Yeah, that's right. Is something wrong?
No, it's just you seem kind of jumpy, or maybe just young.
Young? I'll be 16 old this year.
I'll be 16 old. So what exactly is your current position then?
Well, English speaking, I guess you can call me an 11th grader. But I'm ready to do my job at my age now, that's
great. Another future professional in training. So what's this about a case? You said the trial's tomorrow?
My sister didn't do it. She wouldn't stab somebody with a knife. She wouldn't.
So it's a murder case.
I don't care if there's a witness who saw her do it. She didn't do it. And if she didn't do it, it's a scientific fact.
And there's a witness.
You just talk to her. You'll have to talk to her.
So this is her sister. Older, I'm guessing. So what should be her voice?
God, I told you I didn't want any visitors.
So sorry, ma'am. It's just your sister.
I seem to remember specifically telling you not to come here. Perhaps my memory is failing. I didn't want to come here, okay? But your trial's tomorrow and you still don't have a defense attorney. I've been want to call tomorrow and this has nothing to do with you, Emma. Isn't that right, Mr. Rat?
Hey, how do you know me?
Me mention you, I've heard quite a bit actually. My name's Lana Rhodes. I'm the chief prosecutor for the district.
You're a prosecutor? Okay, well, I know I said I make their voices different, but they sounded exactly the same. I'm gonna keep Emma's the way it was, and I'd have to change the sisters.
The crime took place yesterday, February 21st at 5:15 p.m. A witness clearly saw me committing the crime. The crime took place on the ground parking lot at the prosecution's office. The body was found in the trunk of my subordinate's car. I was arrested on the spot, caught red-handed as it were. The victim was a detective.
You know what that means, don't you? The police department will consider it a matter of pride to have found me guilty. They will use any means at their disposal to do so. As you can plainly see, I am admitting my guilt. I think it's safe to say there's no way you can take this case. None. You mean you're requesting my services at your defense? Don't lose any sleep over it. Your client has confessed after all. The case is over. Let's go check out this parking lot. Don't tell me it was Gumshoe. I better see him in like 5 seconds. Who the fuck is that? Dude, I might need to get some fucking green tea with lemon and ginger and some honey, cause it's about to be fucked for me.
This is our claim-marked territory with a motherload of evidence.
If you're fixing to mess with what's ours, you'll work get it, partner. What's this? A wallet? Okay, open up. Sergeant Bruce Goodman, ID 5842189.
Well, no time to waste. Let's hunting for clues.
Oh, well, what this says? Well, partner, looks like you got no intention of going home quietly.
Like I said before, this here's our claim. Could you tell us one thing? Here's that car.
Get yourselves to the saloon on the 12th floor of the prospector's office. Might just find you a cerveza you like. Does she have onigiri on her head? Actually, that's kind of fucking genius. You ever get hungry and just be like, problem solved. She also has a fucking octopus wiener as a choker. Yeah, she's hot as fuck. You got snacks everywhere, and you yourself are one. Hello, half and half, was it?
Oh, thanks. I love beans. How'd you know? Oh, he's got them British.
I'm quite connected to this case, you see. The images are burned into my eyes, you might say. Yes, all the sordid secrets. I'm referring to the murder, the stabbing of that detective.
Why is Siri still listening to me? She needs to leave me alone. This is kind of... I might have to put a restraining order on this bitch. Siri. Now you don't want to have a conversation with me when I say your fucking name. Siri. Oh, this bitch is tripping.
The name is Angel Star. Don't you go forgetting it.
Your name's Angel? I do not trust you anymore. I fuck with your fit, I fuck with your aesthetic, I fuck with everything about you, but Angel Star? Angel, I'm guessing you're not gonna be one.
And before you know it, I'll have you whimpering at my heels.
Okay, hold on. Never mind. I take back what I said.
I come here every day to sell lunches. My boyfriend works in the security room here at the prosecutor's office.
A body was found in an accident red sports car in the parking lot.
That would be my car.
Why did she stab someone in the trunk of my car? Not only that, she stabbed him with my knife.
To be specific, it was the knife I kept in my toolbox in the trunk of my car. Could you tell me more about yesterday? Yesterday was the annual cleaning day at the prosecutor's office. Working with the police department, we sort and file all evidence for solved cases. We call it evidence transferal. Oh, and one other thing. A ceremony was held at the police department. There's an annual review and awards for outstanding police officers and prosecutors. And that's when you got the shield. I was at the police department yesterday afternoon. I got back here at 5:12. What is that thing?
I'm here, sir, at the request of the chief, sir. I've got you a report, sir.
Did you find new evidence in the case against Sky?
No name of that kind, sir. Not in this report, sir.
I need to focus on the trial tomorrow, so don't bring me anything unrelated. Officer Meekins, take your report and get the fuck out.
Those phones keep a record of all calls you've made and received. You just press the menu button and display the last number you called.
Now to see who the owner of this phone called last. At 5:18, just after the murder took place, your sister called you, didn't she, Emma?
I'm sorry.
Can you tell me what you talked about?
She hung up right away.
I see. 67S 12-2. Maybe it fell out of his pocket when he was killed. Now, I guess we've got some clues. We have an autopsy report, a note from the victim, and a cell phone.
Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Sky.
You ordered the caviar lunch, right?
Oh, caviar. I've never eaten that before. So this is why everyone raves about caviar. It's so tasty it hurts. I always thought caviar would taste like pickled tapioca.
What the fuck? What would that even be?
We usually call on the police to provide a description of the crime. Until 2 years ago, Miss Angel Star was a special investigator with the police. She was a first-rate homicide detective.
Cough up Queen Angel Star, Your Honor. Long time no see. The parking lot at the prosecutor's office is divided into 2 blocks. A block for the prosecutor's office personnel, and B block is for visitors and clients. A chain divider separates the 2 blocks. The crime took place by a car in the back of A block, in the car's trunk. The killer stabbed the victim with this knife and went to drive the body out. Unfortunately for her, there was a witness and an arrest made on the spot.
And who was this valiant witness?
Why, it was me, Your Honor. I was on my way to deliver a lunchbox to my boyfriend. Through the wire fence, I saw the chief prosecutor standing next to a garish car. The chief prosecutor was holding a knife in her right hand. Then she thrust the pointy tip of the knife into Detective Goodman's chest.
By garish car, you mean?
Mr. Edgeworth's car, yeah. Incidentally, the knife was Edgeworth's too. The security guard room is in the lot in A block. It's up to the 2nd level, so you can see everything from there.
Incidentally, you bring your lunch boxes by car?
Since I'm a visitor now, I parked in B block.
So she was in B block when she witnessed the crime.
The moment I witnessed the crime, my reflexes took over, and snap, I took a picture.
This is most certainly the defendant. I guess I'll go with this because she said she saw her hold the knife, but in the picture she's not holding anything. That's the only thing I have right now, to be honest. And you witnessed this. You saw Miss Guy stab the victim with the knife.
As I've already said, yes. I swear it on my finest salmon swirl lunch.
This is the photograph you took at the very moment of the crime, is it not? Then why is Miss Guy not holding a knife? This photograph was not taken the moment before the stabbing. This was taken the moment after the stabbing. Yeah, that's what I thought. I don't know why he said that. That was dumb. And how can you tell that? The fucking blood on her coat? Oh my god.
Blood splatter.
See the dark crimson... Like, is Phoenix this dumb without a fae to help him?
See the dark crimson stain on the chief prosecutor's coat? She killed without pain or remorse. It was premeditated murder.
Premeditated? How do you know? Look at the chief prosecutor's hand in that photograph.
Well, are those gloves?
If it was not premeditated, she would not be wearing those gloves.
The murder was planned. The rubber gloves prove it.
It wasn't premeditated because the murder weapon was Edgeworth's knife. The knife that was in Mr. Edgeworth's trunk.
Indeed, it is my knife.
In your testimony, you stated that Lana Sky planned this murder, and that's why she was wearing those special gloves. Why would she not also prepare the most important thing? Their murder weapon. This knife just happened to be in the trunk of that car. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're gonna plan a murder, you don't forget the weapon.
Jolly good show, Mr. Wright. My sister's a good free.
I believe the next lunch you'll be eating is humble pie. The prosecution could care less if it was premeditated or not. The only one who seems to care is the lunch lady over there.
I'm sure the chief prosecutor had a grudge against the victim. Nothing else could drive that human machine to plunge the knife in again and again.
Okay, well, we got her. We got her. In the autopsy, it says he died from 1 stab wound. You said she stabbed him again and again, but you couldn't have witnessed that.
Are you testing me? Then I'll test you. With my
What the fuck is that? Don't tell me you just served me a bento box of moss. Disgusting. I'm afraid the moss is growing under our feet as we wait, Miss Starr. I shouldn't have to explain this, but take a look. The autopsy report states the death was due to a loss of blood from one stab wound.
Her red muffler looked like blood to me. That's how ghastly the whole scene was.
Her red muffler?
Yes, like a scarf. The chief prosecutor always wears one around her neck.
I'm gonna be for real, I do not see the red scarf. You are capping. The suspect was not wearing a scarf or muffler of any kind when she stabbed the victim. And you've proved it yourself. With this photograph, only a professional lunch lady could be so utterly clueless. Congratulations, perhaps you finally found your true calling in life.
After the murder, the suspect attempted to run behind a partition off to her side. I quickly caught her, explained her rights to her, and arrested her on the spot. Ah yes, when I arrested her, she mentioned the muffler.
So what you heard wasn't the suspect talking to you, but to someone else?
Yes, the chief prosecutor was talking on her phone.
By phone, do you mean this cell phone discovered at the crime scene?
Yes, ultimately. The chief prosecutor's first attempt to use the phone hanging on the wall. Apparently it was out of order.
So you witnessed the murder from here?
Yes, that's right.
You said you witnessed the crime from this point. However, if that's true, you couldn't have possibly seen Miss Skye making that phone call. If indeed you were in B block, you couldn't have seen it. Miss Starr witnessed the crime from a different location. A different location? Now that's a pointless lie if I ever heard one. Before you call my lie pointless, at least let me tell it.
Let me ask our clever wordsmith, Mr. Wright, just where was the witness when she saw the crime?
The security room. It's built on the second floor so you can see the entire lot. I remember in your testimony you said you brought a lunch to your boyfriend in the security guard room. If a witness is found to be lying, they're guilty of perjury. She knows this. She wouldn't risk that without a good reason. What she saw is not in question here. What matters is the time it would take for her to reach the scene of the crime. Ms. Starr, you witnessed the crime from the security guard station. Now how long did it take you to go from there to the scene of the crime where you arrested Ms. Skye?
I witnessed the crime from the glass-walled station, and before I knew what I was doing, I found myself running towards the scene. But the door was locked. I couldn't open it.
Huh?
That's why I had to go through the visitors' parking in B block.
That's quite a detour.
It probably took me at least 5 minutes to get to the scene of the crime.
5 minutes between the witnessing of the murder and the arrest? Think about it. You can make pasta in that amount of time if you like al dente. I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that one, Mr. Wright, because if it's dried pasta, that bitch gonna take like 7 minutes. Unless it's fresh pasta, and still, that would take like 3 minutes. If you were a criminal, what would you do with 5 minutes?
Well, I guess I'd flee the scene.
Miss Skye dawdled at the scene of the crime. She even had her picture taken. No true criminal would act this way. It's inconceivable.
Well then, it seems we've come to the end of this testimony. Mr. Edgeworth is the next witness ready to go.
Unfortunately, I appear to have overestimated the witness on the account of her professional history.
And with that, the court is adjourned.
I might be able to save you. I have a decisive evidence. And now to the matter of the victim's shoe. Did I not bring this up? 2 types of blood were found on this shoe. One was of course the victim's, and the other blood type matched that of the defendant, Ms. Lana Skye. This shoe proves it. It's flawless, decisive evidence.
So there's blood at the bottom of the shoe as well. I say there's one critical problem with this evidence. A clear contradiction. These is red bottoms. These is bloody shoes. I wonder if you noticed, there's blood on the bottom of this shoe.
Don't mess with me, rookie.
It'll be your blood on the bottom of my shoe. You can step on me. It makes sense, the victim was stabbed with a knife. What could possibly be contradictory about blood on the bottom of a shoe? We're gonna go with the picture, because there is no blood on the floor. Note that the bottom of the victim's shoe was covered in blood. Then, isn't it strange? Why weren't any bloody footprints found on the scene of the crime? This picture only shows part of the floor, so there could have been bloody footprints. Then where are they, Mr. Edgeworth? Because we checked the scene and we found nothing of the sort. Our witness is more devious than I gave her credit for. We were hoodwinked to the very end, but she slipped. There is one vital hint to the truth in her testimony. Think back when she told us about apprehending the suspect.
The chief prosecutor tried to resist, but her efforts were in vain. She knocked my hands aside, knocked over an oil drum.
I thought that was a strange thing for the normally cool-headed chief to do. Now witness, allow me to ask a very simple question. This oil drum, was it empty?
The oil drum kicked over by the chief prosecutor was brimming with water.
The suspect knocked over that oil drum for one reason and one reason alone. To erase the bloodstains that would become evidence against her. There is no need for further debate. The verdict, Your Honor.
Very well.
But Angel Star's on the prosecution side. She could have been lying about the water.
This court finds the defendant, Miss Lana Skye.
Little girl, what did you just say?
Huh? Me?
Did you say that I, Angel Star, was on the prosecution side?
Well, yeah, you are.
I thought you had your fill, but here you are demanding a second helping. Another lunchbox. A lunchbox called evidence.
My boy is slumped.
I had it just in case anyone had the gall to suggest that the white shoe didn't belong to the victim. Very well, this time I'd like to declare a verdict for good.
Objection!
What is it with you people? Can't I hand down my verdicts in peace anymore?
Look at this photograph, the last one submitted. This trial isn't over until we give each piece of evidence proper consideration.
Show the courtroom the problem with this photograph.
Is it this? We gotta think about this. What is in the exhaust pipe? She said muffler, and that's the muffler right there, no? So there must be some evidence in the muffler.
There's something poking out the car's muffler.
That's why you think the piece of cloth in the muffler is related to this case.
Could it be that muffler you mentioned was actually this exhaust pipe? If so, that means the piece of cloth is vital evidence.
Have the car at the crime scene inspected at once and bring me that cloth. The verdict will wait until after we've seen all the evidence. This court will adjourn for 30-minute recess.
There's vocals here? Huh? Since when?
It's spitting game. I know you got it.
What a great song. Alright, let's get back to our regular program.
I'd like to resume.
What's up? The judge keeps looking over at the prosecution. What the fuck happened to you?
Is something wrong, Mr. Edgeworth? Your face is blue, your lips are purple, you're sweating bullets. That furrowed brow, those grinding teeth, those watery eyes. What's more, your eyes are unfocused. You're doubled over, your back is bent.
It can't be. This can't happen.
Well, I'm guessing there's some corruption going on here.
This is unacceptable.
Excuse me, knock knock.
Who's there?
What the fuck? Is he gonna talk? Hello? Sir, I really can't think of a voice for this dude.
Mr. Wright, you don't know the district chief of police. He's a top-ranking police officer in the entire district.
And he loves staring at people?
Name's Gant. Damon Gant. Pleased to meet everyone.
So, what do we owe this honor today? It's been over 2 years since you last came to this courtroom, hasn't it?
I just thought I'd help out by bringing this, but I think it was stuffed in that exhaust pipe on Littleworthy's car, no less.
Can you speak? How could they miss such a vital piece of evidence? If your investigators are this lax, how do you expect us to do our job?
Now, wait a minute, Worthy.
I've no desire to hear your excuses.
I'm telling you to wait, or didn't you hear me? Have a look at this document where it says person in charge of investigation. There's no mistaking that signature is there. Miles Edgeworth.
Look at this knife blade, the tip is breaking off. Switchblade added. Found at the crime scene wrapped in the defendant's muffler. Small tag attached. This does not excuse the actions of the police department. I would like to hear an explanation from the chief of police himself.
This knife is special, but I can't say how here. Unless there's evidence to prove a connection between this knife and Goodman. A detective was killed at the police department. See, what a mess. The time of the crime, 5:15. Scary coincidence, eh?
That's the exact time that Detective Goodman was killed at the prosecutor's office. SL92. Here we go. Wait a second. This knife. This has something to do with Detective Goodman. Look at the tag on this knife. It reads SL92.
And this is important, why?
Over here we also have a memo that was on the body of the victim. Whoever wrote this note was holding the paper upside down.
SL9. That's the same thing that's written on the knife tag.
This knife was evidence in a case. It was stolen from the department's evidence room.
The connection between these two cases has already been proved. The connection is a place mentioned in the testimony we just heard. The knife found on the lot was stolen from the police department's evidence room. Not to mention the victim had on him the case number of the evidence. And we also know that the detective murdered at the police department was killed in that very same evidence room. How about you tell me the victim's ID number?
Sure, why not? Now you'll be able to tell who it is from that. The number is 5842189.
That's the same number. This is the ID number of our victim, Detective Goodman. Detective Goodman's ID number is 5842189. Wait a second, right? What is this? The two ID numbers are identical. In other words, the detective killed in the police department's evidence room was Bruce Goodman. What I want to know is why didn't I hear about this? Yes, it's top secret, fine, but I'm the prosecutor in charge of this case.
Now just wait a second, Worthy. No need to get all flustered.
Your Honor, the police department has made a grave error in this case.
Wait, I said wait. Or didn't you hear me? The oversight, the grave error. Mr. Edgeworth, they're yours. We informed you yesterday. I believe it was our officer Meekins who brought you the news. According to Meekins, you didn't accept the report.
He said that report had nothing to do with the Lana Sky incident.
Detective Bruce Goodman murdered in police department evidence room. Mr. Edgeworth, the victim's name is written on the top of the report. In any case, this is a serious error, a gross negligence of duty on your part, Worthy.
It seems we have come to the end of this trial.
I know you're going through a tough time, Worthy, with all these rumors. You were even in the defendant's chair this past December.
I apologize for this terrible lack of due diligence on my part. I'll get to the bottom of what happened, if it's the last thing
I do.
You better get results this time, really.
Very well, court is adjourned. The situation calls for one thing and one thing only. Luminol testing fluid. Okay, well, we'll definitely know this is a blood stain. But also something strike you as odd. Scientifically speaking, of course.
The perpetrator and victim fought here, right? Don't you think there'd be a little more blood? The SL9 incident. It's written on that knife. And on that note, Goodman was the head detective on that case, you know. That knife was evidence from that case, the murder weapon. It was due for transferal that very day Goodman was killed. As I suspected, SL9 isn't over. Not yet. 2 years ago, it was the biggest case I've ever handled. The police and prosecutors were desperate for decisive evidence. It was solved quite cleanly. The criminal was caught and executed. Yes, the criminal got what was coming to him. It doesn't get any cleaner than that. The only problem was, they never did find decisive evidence. Not a shred. The best part came several months after the trial. Every detective involved with the case was dealt with. Some were demoted to patrolmen, others found themselves out of a job. Myself and one other person you know well, Detective Jake Marshall. As professional detectives, we investigated that case from every angle. Jake was particularly determined. And then, it was over. And he was demoted. He hadn't forgotten, and neither have I. There was another side to the case, a hidden side. That's what we're after now.
You, Officer Meekins, you didn't... did you?
Sir, I entered the evidence room and asked the man to show me his ID card.
Well, that sounds pretty much about it so far.
That's right, sir. That's what I've been trying to tell you.
So you asked Detective Goodman to show his ID card. What did he do?
That's the thing. Suddenly, he pointed a knife at me. Do unto others before they do unto you. My father's words, sir.
It's a lost item report, but it's only half complete.
A lost item? You didn't let Goodman lose anything. The lock for each locker is coded with a fingerprint, so the only locker we can open is our own.
Okay, there's a lot of blood right there. The fuck is this?
But some of the pieces are missing. Well, some pieces stolen.
I bet they were missing to begin with. Detective Goodman was the detective in charge of the SL9 incident, see? The victim took the knife out of the evidence locker himself?
Officer Marshall, show us the ID record, Rookin. Look at the fourth number, it's a perfect match.
It was used at 514. Right before the stabbing.
What's more, there's only one of them cards in the world. So, when the incident occurred, Detective Goodman was in the evidence room.
If he had his ID card then, why would he have pointed a knife at Officer Meekins? This is the ID card record of the people who came in here on the day of the stabbing.
So is Goodman who came in here. Whoa! The second number on this list belongs to Mr. Edgeworth.
Why would Edgeworth have come into the evidence room? Edgeworth, you went into the evidence room that day, didn't you? Just before the incident occurred, no less.
I was asked to go, by Chief Gant, no less. He wanted evidence for a case that wrapped up half a year ago. He told me he wanted me to keep it here, in the prosecutor's office.
You might have use for this.
Aluminum powder for taking fingerprints.
It's been chemically treated for better adhesion.
For me? Are you sure? We're the enemy, you know.
I have no say in today's investigation. Do as you will.
That's a match right there.
It's Officer Marshall.
That's gotta be a coincidence. He's not involved in the crime.
The blood and the fingerprints are in the same place. It looks like our investigation is finally turning up some results. I guess this is what you'd call decisive evidence. Dude, I've been recording for 2.5 hours. I should be done, right? Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. For its first witness, the prosecution calls the suspect of the murder at the police department.
Will the witness please state his name and occupation?
Yes, sir. I'm Officer Meekins, sir. My occupation is, that would be murderer, sir.
Give us your report of the crime. Consider that in order.
Although it's not my normal duty, I was assigned to guard the evidence room that day. And I spotted a suspicious man on the security screen and rushed into the room. I was only doing what I was trained to do, sir. I was suddenly attacked. I fought for my life, and then I did it. After that, I passed out. Until another officer smacked me awake. I was in charge of guarding the Blue Badger, sir.
That's not lovely, it's creepy.
After the award ceremony finished that day, there were so many people running around that I relocated the Blue Badger to the evidence room.
Oh, so that's why you went there.
Take a look at this. It was sent to my jail cell. Chief Gant delivered it to me this morning, sir.
What is that? A videotape? What the hell was that wriggling piece of plywood?
It's the Blue Badger, sir. His face can't be clearly seen in the video, but there's no question that the other person was Detective Goodman, sir. I mean, he opened the locker, which required Detective Goodman's fingerprints, too. The locker he opened is unquestionably Detective Goodman's locker.
Oh wait, the locker's already open. The light's on, so anybody could have opened it. Officer Meekins.
Sir, do you mean me, sir?
As I understand, the locker apparatus works like this. When you grab the handle, a sensor reads your fingerprint. If it's a match, the light turns on and the lock is released.
According to my very limited experience, that's the way I understand it, sir.
If so, then something is seriously wrong with this picture. When the victim reaches for the handle to open the locker, let's rewind a little bit earlier. Here, notice the light? What's this? It's already lit. Precisely my point, Your Honor. The locker was already open before the victim grabbed the handle. Why wasn't the locker locked? Boom. Please watch closely. This is the continuation of the part I showed you earlier.
What's this? Something white fell out of the locker.
The sensor triggered the lock when the door is shut. What if something was inserted, say, between the sensor and the door?
But the object would have to be extremely thin to fit in the door.
Not only that, it would have to block the electrical currents. It would need to be an insulator. It's a thin rubber glove. I know this from One Piece because when Luffy fought Enel, Enel was an electricity guy and Luffy's made of rubber, and that is a direct counter to electricity.
We are to believe that the victim, who was the witness stabbed in the evidence room, was not Detective Goodman.
The defense has merely demonstrated that possibility and nothing more. The victim in the video was indeed Bruce Goodman. The prosecution will offer one more testimony to prove this.
At the time of the crime, the detective had used his card.
I don't know if I'm thinking too hard about this, because if he used his card, why would his card be at a different crime scene? I have the victim's ID card right here. I found it at the crime scene, the underground parking lot.
A lost item report. It's only half completed.
But it shows that Detective Goodman had lost something on the day of the crime. Something important enough to fill out in this report. On the day of the crime, Detective Goodman was not carrying his card. The man Officer Meekins encountered at the evidence room was not Detective Goodman, but rather the man who stole his card. If the victim in this video is a fake, then the murder in the evidence room is also fake. In other words, the security camera does not show the instant of the murder.
That means Lana is guilty.
The real crime could only take place at one location, the underground parking lot, at the prosecutor's office, the murderer being Miss Lana Skye, the defendant.
What do I do? How am I supposed to get myself out of this?
This cross-examination has proven one thing and one thing only. The security video did not show the actual murder. However, it cannot be said that this is unrelated to the murder in the parking lot. Specifically, large amounts of blood traces were found in the evidence room. The defense demands further examination into the truth of this matter.
If this court were to examine this further, other witnesses will be necessary. Is the prosecution prepared?
The prosecution consider the incident at the police department to be unrelated. We have not prepared any other witnesses for this incident. The defense would like to request a specific witness.
Oh, whom do you have in mind?
Officer Jake Marshall. He's in charge of the evidence room. I feel we should hear what he has to say.
SL9 incident. I thought Mr. Knight might need them, so I had them brought here.
Jake Marshall, Angel Starr, Damon Gant, Miles Edgeworth, not to mention Lana and Emma. Everyone involved in this case is connected to those killings 2 years ago. Okay, so there's clearly some things going on here. Neil Marshall is related to Jake.
The court will now reconvene.
My job was to keep a wary eye on that bone orchard. They said I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. Besides, the room's protected by 2 security systems anyway.
What do you mean by 2 security systems?
I mean the security cameras and the ID card reader.
Yes, what about the fingerprint activated locks though?
Fingerprint activated locks? What kind of newfangled doohickeys are those?
He's not that good with machines or following orders or doing anything.
Everyone's got their weaknesses now, don't they, Mr. Prosecutor?
You left a very large trail behind at the scene. Or to be exact, a handprint.
Listen real good, partner. Like I said, I'm the caretaker of that crypt. It's only natural my fingerprints would be in there.
I only wish it was true, officer. But you see, your fingerprints were covered in blood.
The blood stain and the fingerprint are completely unrelated. Or didn't you know the murderer was wearing gloves? See? I had nothing to do with it.
Too bad it wasn't me in that video, partner. Motherfucker, it was you. Alright, y'all. You see how it's not on, but if we fast forward, now it's open. You could clearly be seen in this video. When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. Then it suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What's more, you opened your locker when the camera was turned away.
So what if my locker was open? That doesn't mean I'm the one who opened it.
Is this motherfucker stupid? Didn't we literally clear up the fingerprint thing?
Why is everyone staring at me? Like I'm a wanted man.
This guy isn't just playing dumb. He is dumb. We talked about this earlier. The lockers can only be opened by the detectives they belong to. I believe the victim in this video is Officer Marshall. For some reason, you disguised yourself as Detective Goodman and entered the evidence room, though I don't know to what end yet. However, something unexpected happened. Officer Meekins barged in on you. When asked to show your ID, you pulled a knife on him. Officer Meekins panicked, and the white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood. You couldn't just walk out like that. So you hid the coat in your locker.
Not bad, partner. I had to do it that day. I couldn't just stand by and let it die. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out and managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15.
Officer Marshall, I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SL9 incident.
Sounds like you've been sipping too much cactus juice, partner.
I have the SL9 incident file here. The name, Marshall, is mentioned in here, and a list of murder victims. Neil Marshall, are you related to this man?
He was my brother. My brother fought Dark and was killed. That was the first time Dark left behind any evidence. That's all we needed. My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Dark. I knew my brother better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight.
All of the mysteries at the police department have been resolved, no doubt about it. Our sole murder took place at the prosecutor's office. The only suspect is Lana Skye, and the testimony of Miss Angel Starr is completely incontestable.
It seems this trial has reached its conclusion. There's no room for doubt. Now then, the time for the verdict has arrived. The court finds the defendant
The defense has an objection, a scientific objection. I mean, finding out the SL9 incident referred to the Joe Dock killings. But that's when I figured it out. I mean, what Officer Marshall was trying to do that day. So I knew his fingerprints had nothing to do with the crime. That left only one thing, the other handprint.
You mean the trace of blood found on Detective Gumshoe's locker? But no fingerprints were found on it, right?
No, but I figured if I examined it scientifically, I figured there'd be a clue. So, I ran it over and looked at it again.
So did you find something?
No.
Huh?
Sorry.
With regard to the incident at the police department, does any reasonable doubt remain? It appears the defense is troubled by the other's blood mark. Looking at the floor plans, a handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this? The Blue Badger. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. Please look at the floor plans of the scene. The Blue Badger is not here. So watch what happens when we put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime. So long as the Blue Badger is there, it would be impossible to place a handprint on this spot of the locker.
Officer Meekins was the one who brought Mr. Badger in. After he put it down, it would be impossible to leave a handprint on that locker.
So that must mean this blood mark was left there before Blue Badger was brought in. Someone bled prior to the struggle shown on this tape. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous. I refuse to accept your absurd claim. The murder portrayed in the security tape had been proven to be fake. However, that does not explain the blood mark found on the locker. When did it take place? I demand you show evidence to prove when it occurred. Officer Meekins brought the Blue Badger panel inside the evidence room at, let's see here, 4:50. If that crime took place before that time, then it would be 4:40 p.m. Miles Edgeworth, just what have you done? I would have just had 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean up the crime. Unfortunately, that's impossible. There's only one other card remaining, 7777777. Since there's no record of his card being used beforehand, he must have entered along with the real murderer. He went inside with 77777. The ID number 77777 belongs to someone with the rank of captain or higher. You're all alike, aren't you? With your cover-ups and your forgeries. That's how the prosecutor office operates. I take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I would appreciate it if you would keep your slander to yourself, bitch. During that trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look at me, an investigator in that crime, in the eye and say you did that? Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to in order for him to get the verdict he deserved, even if it involved forging evidence. Lana's remarks called such a stir, the chaos in the courtroom could not be quelled. The conclusion of the trial would have to wait until the following day.
It's all there in the file. Joe Dock's last victim was prosecutor Neil Marshall. When he murdered Officer Marshall's brother, he left behind an incriminating piece of evidence. On the night prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered, Joe Dock tried to kill me. Officer Marshall's brother, Neil, was only trying to save me. Lightning struck and the lights went out. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning flashed outside the window, lighting up the office for an instant. What I saw then burned a permanent picture in my mind. I can still see it now.
A permanent picture? What did you see in the instant the crime occurred?
Doc knocked Mr. Marshall down and raised his knife. I don't remember what happened after that. Apparently I passed out. When I came to, Lana was cradling me in arms. I couldn't bring myself to testify about that incident. I tried, but the words just wouldn't come out. I drew up a picture, but it wasn't any good. After that case ended, Lana was never the same. She became cold like she is today.
Lana, Emma told me about you. How about how you were a detective 2 years ago? And how the SL9 incident was the reason for your transfer. Could you fill me in on the details? Especially about the unusual change of jobs?
I always planned on becoming a prosecutor.
The reason I became a detective was
to gain experience in investigating crime so you can use that experience in court, right?
Gant's help in the SL9 case was crucial to its resolution. After that, he became chief of police and arranged my transfer to the prosecutor's office. 2 years ago, I was second in command of the detectives investigating Doc. Yes, Deputy Chief Gant and I shared the same office and the same investigations. We led a team of the best detectives on the force. Detective Goodman, whose case it was, Jake Marshall, and Angel Starr. It was the first time Marshall worked with his brother. Without a doubt, Joe Dock was the serial killer. We asked him to come in for questioning. We were desperate for evidence. That's what when his final murder take place. You see, the first person who happened upon the scene of the crime was me. Damon Gant and Neil Marshall were the one questioning Doc that day. The investigation was in its final stage and Doc must have suddenly panicked. So he waited until Gant and Marshall let the guards down and fled the room. From there, he ran straight to the office shared by Deputy Gant and myself.
That's what he found me.
So you were the first person to run into the scene?
It appears so.
I was filing some papers while Gant and Marshall were questioning Doc. When I returned to my office, I saw 3 bodies on the floor and I smelled blood.
Let me get this straight. You were all involved in the SL9 incident.
That's right. Quite a coincidence, huh?
I don't buy it. There's no way everyone involved in this trial was also involved in that incident. Maybe we should have a look at the chief's office, the site of the final SL9 murder.
Something was fishy about that trial from the beginning. Some of the facts reported were inconsistent with the evidence we found. For example, the murder weapon. In the initial autopsy report, a question was raised. The blade of the knife was not a perfect match with the wound the victim sustained. explained. What does that mean? It means there's a good chance the knife was not the murder weapon.
Holy shit. He has a fucking organ in here? What is he, Davy Jones? Chief Gant. He put the paper he was reading in his desk.
See that big picture on the wall over there? That's a picture of Lana, Neil, and me.
So this is Mr. Marshall's brother, Prosecutor Neil Marshall.
I'm gonna lock up here, so let's go out together. But this office, it was a crime scene 10 years ago, wasn't it? There's no need to investigate a closed case.
All the same, we'd still like to have a look around.
Perhaps you didn't hear me. I said there's no need to investigate it. Now hurry up and get the fuck out.
After that case, all of us save Goodman were relieved of our duties. Then Lana Sky transferred to the prosecutor's office and became chief prosecutor.
I always wanted to become a prosecutioner.
Nothing quite as simple as it appears. Lana Sky was merely being used as a pawn. That's my take on the matter. Having solved the SL9 case, his position as chief was secured. There was only one thing left for him to control, and then no one would stand in his way. The prosecutor's office.
Do you mean that's why Lana was transferred?
If he can control the chief prosecutor, he could control the prosecutor's office.
This looks like a list of evidence. In most cases, the list runs twice as long as this, though. SL9 incident.
Okay, I'm gonna do some maths right now. The case from Edgeworth's was 15 years after 2001. So, Edgeworth's case was 2016. We say that's this year, and we take that 2 years back, we have 2014. The day that this happened was February 19th, so it would be 2/19/2014. The number of the mysterious executive officer who entered that room that day, that's Chief Gant's ID number.
Is that it? That's all we found in the safe. A piece of cloth with a handprint on it and a broken shard of a cup.
They look like pieces of evidence. Chief Gant willingly and knowingly hid a piece of this jar in his safe. In other words, he concealed a piece of evidence from the SL9 incident. That's looking like a match with Emma.
What are Emma's fingerprints doing on here? Hey, you found a match, so whose were they?
Huh? Oh, seems the prints are too old. They aren't clear enough to get a match.
Oh, that's too bad. I thought there'd be dark prints on them. Now then, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to ask you all to leave.
I have to admit, I was more than a little perplexed at first. You insisted you did it, yet there was no incriminating evidence. It's not that you're unwilling to tell the truth, it's that you can't.
3 days ago, I had no choice but to cooperate. Or perhaps I should say, follow orders.
I need you to dispose of Bruce Goodman's body. You'll find it inside the trunk of Miles Edgeworth's car.
Just as I suspected. Despite what everyone believes, you were not the one who murdered Detective Goodman.
I was trying to take the body out of Mr. Edgeworth's car. The trunk's lock was broken. I discovered that murder weapon while inspecting the body.
You mean Edgeworth's knife?
No. When I found the body, this knife was stuck in it.
The knife from the SL9 incident?
I couldn't leave that knife in him, so I took it out and stabbed him with another knife.
There's only one way to drive off Lana's demons. I've got to get to the bottom of everything. Detective Goodman's real murderer, and what went down in the chief's office 2 years ago.
Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Sky. Lana, that is to say, the defendant, has asked me if she could speak directly to the court.
So basically, he's gonna force a confession from her.
Your Honor, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial. On February 21st of this year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman.
It appears the time for a verdict has arrived. The court finds the defendant.
One moment, Your Honor. Prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would be premature.
Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you, but why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut,
I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Gant. Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes. Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you think I am. With this sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness, Ms. Emma Sky. I request the court hears her testimony.
I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. I drew a picture of that scene once, but it seems to have been lost.
This little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture, and yet you would insist on denying its existence? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that the prosecutor for the case, I wasn't handed a picture. That may well be, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold.
Oh, what's this?
Hey, that's it. That's the picture I drew.
Only the prosecutor in charge should have that list.
It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These two lists fit together to form one.
If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list.
That thing that was dancing in the evidence room. Will you please testify about this picture you drew 2 years ago?
The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see was shadows. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant.
If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken. Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand. Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim. The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken. Have you forgotten already about a little something called falsified evidence? You're treading on thin ice, right? All I'm saying is that the broken knife tip might be a piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility. If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife. It's that knight's spear right there. It's the pot in the background and that's why it was broken. Or it was his award and they used the spear part of it. And 2 years ago, this part of the thing was removed because it was used as a murder weapon. Neil Marshall was awarded the King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given this broken shield and knife. When he chased after Joe Dark, he pulled out this knife. This broken knife was the only weapon he had in that situation. This man raising a knife would have been Prosecutor Neil Marshall. And that's how he got stabbed in the back. As Marshall was stabbing Joe Dark, he got stabbed in the back by Gant with the murder weapon, and that's why it broke in his back.
Could you show me your evidence list again, please? The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. All this time I've been trying to forget. I've locked away this part away deep inside me.
Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony.
When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed towards both of them. I think I knocked away the man with a knife. Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the Blue Badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow.
It is the defense belief that on that fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the Blue Badger. It is this pot. The mysterious Blue Badger was in fact this. What if we were to change our viewpoint? Like that? There you go. That looked just like it. That's it. What the fuck? Bitch, what do you mean no? How was that different, bro? Okay, whatever. No one can possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the Blue Badger. So the Blue Badger thing was actually just a jar. That doesn't change anything. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. What's the difference now? At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. At a very specific angle, I might add, Mr. Wright. Yes, well, knowing this, where could she have seen this jar? It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gant, but the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. The struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room in Chief Gant's office. Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body from Damon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying? The impact of the man when he was knocked into the wall. May I draw your attention to this picture once more? Did Emma kill Marshall, like low-key? Because there's a fucking dude standing there with a sword poking, fall back onto it, and that's how he got stabbed in the back. If the man was knocked into the direction of the shelf, what would he have hit?
The suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous looking sword.
And since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have had to have been Neil Marshall, wielding the King of Prosecutors trophy. Of course, the perpetrator would have no idea, but nevertheless, I don't know if I can go through with this. If events took place as the defense theorizes, in that moment, assuming the man Emma Sky knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall.
You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me?
No! Now I know why they want to cover it up. Okay.
Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her?
If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out what Emma did.
If you hope to have anyone believe you in your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have to prove it.
Is it the jar? Does the jar say something? A message was left here, on the surface of this jar. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. So this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind.
Do you understand the implications of what you've done? 2 years ago, Joe Dark was sentenced to death. An innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction. Sentencing the man to death is no light matter.
Whoa!
Sentencing a man to death... Sentencing...
What? Sentencing... What the fuck? Sentencing a man.
Sentencing a man.
Sentencing. What? Sentencing.
Sentencing a.
There we go.
Sentencing a man to death is no light matter. Even if there wasn't a cover-up or evidence forgery, ultimately the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied.
Dude, this case is like its own game in and of itself.
Court will now reconvene for the trial of Ms. Lana Sky.
The defense calls Damon Gant to the stand.
As I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day. To make a long story short, we slipped up. The power outage didn't help either. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Apparently, she had already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery.
You had nothing to do with the forgery? Motherfucker, we found the piece of evidence in your safe. If the police chief has the right to refuse to testify, then I better hit him hard and fast. What? You claim you had nothing to do with a forgery, but I'm afraid that's a claim you can't back up. Several pieces of evidence were found in your office. Take this jar, for example. Not only that, but the evidence list I presented earlier was actually found inside of your desk. You see, Chief Gant, these are articles of evidence uncovered in your office, are both concrete proof that you also played a part in the illegal investigation.
You were the one who snuck in my office when you found this evidence. For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. You can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered. If they were found after Drake was convicted, then they're worthless. There's no reason I'd participate in a forgery. Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way.
Really, Chief Gant? At the very least, there is one large benefit you reaped from all this.
What is this benefit?
That would, of course, be the position you have, Chief of Police. The resolution of the SL9 incident secured your promotion. That in itself is a sufficient motive.
Do you really think I'm that incompetent? Even without that case, I was already in line to become the next chief.
There's only one possible motivation for you to commit forgery. If you didn't do it for yourself, then you did it for someone else.
There are only 3 people I look out for. Me, myself, and I.
But if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone. You assisted Lana Skye in forging evidence. Your motive? To appoint her as chief prosecutor so you could control her.
Do you have any proof of this?
The chief prosecutor had been acting strange throughout this entire trial. Almost as if someone has been controlling her.
Just what do you mean?
What if he means, Your Honor, is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, but the chief is now making Lana try to take the rap to cover up his involvement.
This is the ID card list.
Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There was one ID on the list we couldn't determine the owner of yesterday.
Sorry, but there's no way you could prove that's my card number.
It's your number. Chief Gant, you entered the evidence room on the day of the crime.
Chief Gant, so you admit it? You entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. What about it? I'm the chief of police.
Detective Goodman wouldn't have happened to be with you that day, would he?
Of course not. Why would he be? I haven't seen him in days.
You hadn't seen him in days, Chief Gant? I'm afraid you've just undone yourself.
My mic fell out for like the next 10 minutes, so I didn't narrate this. Basically, we caught his ass on a lie because he did meet with Goodman and opened the evidence room for him.
After the ceremony ended that day, I didn't plan to return to the prosecutor's office. But you did because Chief Gant asked you to.
You mean
The body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. The body was moved by that car. Why else would you have asked Mr. Edgeworth to transport evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation. To transport the body to your accomplice, Ms. Lana Skye. This was not a photo of the body being stuffed in the trunk to be taken away. It was exactly the opposite. It's a photo of the body being taken from the trunk.
Chief Gant, please say something. I believe your time's up. Sorry, Righto, but I'm having lunch with the District Attorney General after this. We have to get going if we're gonna make it in time for the early bird special. A police chief has all kind of weapons at his disposal, like the right to refuse to testify. I'm invoking that right now.
There are certain risks to be considered. So you're gonna just run away after all this? And he's gone. There's one lady who knows the real truth behind this trial. We haven't yet had the honor of hearing her testimony. Another witness? Yeah, motherfucking Lana. In the absence of conclusive evidence, the only other method of proof is testimony.
Very well, the court will now take its final recess for the day. In 15 minutes, we will reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. This court is now... Hold on. Chief Gant, I thought you were going to eat. Listen good, Lana. I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claims, there will be terrible consequences. That's right. Your sister will be found guilty for Neil Marshall's murder. Of course, you'd never support such an outrageous claims anyway, right? Just something to think about. Alright then. I've got the lunch date to meet.
So he clearly just threatened her and made sure she doesn't talk? What?
This court is now in recess.
That motherfucker's stupid. Lana, please, I'm running out of storage. Can you just confess?
Now then, will the defendant, Ms. Lana Skye, please take the stand?
I worked alongside Gant for years. There's no truth to this blackmail theory. I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene myself. My only motivation was to get Doc convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma. It seems I was the first person to discover the scene. I broke off the tip of Doc's knife, planted it inside the wound, and moved the body. I knew the tip of the weapon found buried in his body would be all the proof we needed. The pieces of the jar that shattered in the events threatened my plan.
Pieces of the jar? You mean...
Yes.
That wretched jar you showed us earlier.
So, when you first found the body, the jar was already...
Of course, it had been shattered into pieces.
You testified, and I quote, "Yeah, the pieces of the jar shattered during the events."
That's right.
You see, a message was written on this jar with the victim's blood. In order for the victim to be able to write his message on the jar, it still had to have been intact before he died. He couldn't have written Emma's name on a shattered jar.
Just tell us exactly what you saw. We'll piece together the information to arrive at the truth. I immediately noted the traces of blood on the jar, but it was dark in the room and I didn't have time to check it out. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. All I could think about was wiping them clean before they got discovered.
Miss Sky, I believe this jar conceals a truth even you were unaware of. We found the final piece of the jar in Chief Gant's safe.
In the chief's safe? But how? I knew it.
She really didn't know. There's something even more disturbing about that final piece. There was still blood on it. On the night Prosecutor Marshall was murdered, you were not the first one to show up at the scene. Chief Gant got there before you.
There's no way a name could have been written on a shattered jar. Another person discovered the scene prior to the witness. Damon Gant arrived at the crime scene prior to the witness. He proceeded to break the jar and purposefully hid one of the broken pieces.
Discovering the scene, Lana Sky believed her sister Emma killed the victim.
Determined to help her sister, she sought Gant's aid. Lending her his aid, Gant helped her create evidence that incriminated Dark, sparing Emma.
And therein lies the reason. The reason why Miss Sky became the chief's puppet. If evidence was fabricated behind your back, then Emma's accidental killing of Prosecutor Marshall might also be a lie.
I'll testify about what I really saw. I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled on the suit of armor sword. Emma and Doc were lying unconscious on the floor nearby. When I saw what happened, I thought she did it. That's why I erased all the evidence that linked her to the murder. I had Chief Gant help me remove the body from the sword and carry it. But if it was already a fabrication, Emma might be innocent. No other detective saw the crime scene like this, because I contacted the criminal affairs only after I had rearranged everything.
That piece cut out from his vest, could that be?
The cloth we found inside Chief Gant's safe.
That cloth has fingerprints on it. Whoever fingerprints those are must be the real murderer. Why are you lip syncing on purpose, Mr. Wright?
This is the poorest excuse for a trial I've ever seen. What now, you want to make me out as the bad guy too? If so, I'd like to put a word or two in my defense.
I'm afraid it's too late for that. You already declined to testify. That means you forfeited your right to make statements of any sort.
Even if I can't testify, I can still present evidence.
You still have some conclusive evidence?
No, I don't, but someone does.
Emma's sure to be made out as the murderer.
Mr. Wright, if you have any evidence, present it now. And if you try to conceal it, you will be the one appearing before the Board of Inquiries.
I'm probably gonna eventually show it, but I'm just gonna say no right now. I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time.
What? You lie. You opened my safe. I know you took what was inside.
I don't know what you're talking about, man.
See the victim's vest? Notice anything odd about the chest area?
It looks like part has been cut out for some reason.
You mean you had this in your safe?
That means you, the chief of police, have been concealing evidence.
To be honest, I didn't think you had the gall, Righto. I can't just let you pin me as the murderer. I'll tell you what really happened. I was the first person to arrive at the crime scene that day. It then occurred to me that I could use the situation to control Lana. If I made it look like the blame may lay on her sister, that when she saw the scene, she would ask me for my aid. I told her to arrange all the evidence. I had her plant the knife tip in the victim's body and move the body across the room. When I tampered with the crime scene, I hid 2 pieces of evidence. This was before Lana arrived at the scene, mind you.
2 pieces of evidence? You mean those items in your safe?
I was sure my plan would work. It's always best to be prepared for the worst. I wasn't about to let anyone blame me for the murder the girl committed. See this jar fragment? I hid the most legible part of Emma's name. I didn't expect Lana to go and wipe the blood off all the pieces.
But if you fabricated all the evidence, what's to say you didn't fabricate the message too?
Some people just don't know when to shut the fuck up. That's why I kept one more item for insurance.
You mean that piece of cloth?
Come on now, Righto. Cough it up already. I know you have it.
Well, Mr. Wright, what do you have to say for yourself? Just a moment ago, you said you didn't have any evidence you could present.
Foolish move, Righto. You should have shown it when you had a chance.
Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest.
Oh, you finally brought it out in the open.
There's a handprint on this piece of cloth. Whose fingerprints are they? The person whom these fingerprints belong to is...
Emma Sky?
What? They're mine?
I said this trial isn't over yet.
But I'm afraid it is over, boy. Not only this trial, but your career. You purposely concealed this conclusive evidence. That, my friend, is a serious offense. I'm looking forward to pressing charges after the defendant is convicted. I'll have your badge, boy. What's the matter, cat? Got your tongue? Aren't you gonna tell us how it feels? How it feels to be the one who single-handedly turned a poor little girl into a murderer?
Before I do that, there's just one little thing I have to clear up. Who really killed Prosecutor Neil Marshall? Chief Gant, you are absolutely right. This piece of cloth proves who the real murderer is. This piece of cloth contains a crucial contradiction.
What? A contradiction?
Behold, the piece of evidence that contradicts this cloth.
Bitch, what? This is a picture Miss Sky took. Take a good look at it. See where the piece of his vest was cut out? Yeah, it's just showing underneath. It's hard to make out with all the blood on his vest, though. Exactly my point. His chest is soaked with blood. That's only natural. His lungs no doubt were punctured, blood poured out of his mouth. Oh, but that piece of cloth.
It's clean. Since Emma Sky's fingerprints are on this cloth, there's no doubt that she shoved the prosecutor aside. However, Mr. Marshall was not impaled on the sword at that time.
No, this is nonsense.
Prosecutor Marshall was not impaled when he was shoved aside. He most likely hit his head on the ground and was knocked out. If so, then tell me, who could it have been? Who could have arrived at the scene before Ms. Lana Sky, picked up the unconscious prosecutor, impaled him on the armor's sword? Then to make it look like Emma was responsible for the prosecutor's death, said person proceeded to write her name on the jar with the victim's blood. A jar that they broke on purpose to leave behind a clue, and make Lana believe her sister did it. Through the very act of creating insurance, you proved that you were the actual murderer. It's finally over.
That was close, Ryder. You almost had me. Sorry. But you'll have to do better than that. I refute your allegation.
What do you mean you refute his allegation?
You see, that piece of cloth is illegal evidence.
I've done my homework too, Chief. Indeed, Emma Sky's fingerprints were on this piece of cloth. At the point in time, this was merely a piece of cloth, nothing more. You see, it's written right here in this book. The second rule of evidence law. Rule number 2. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. You see, at the time, it was impossible for me to prove the relevance between the cloth and the SL9 incident. At the beginning of today's trial, that pile of cloth was still meaningless. The person who gave it value as evidence was you, Damon Gant. The only person who could have cut this from the victim's vest is the one who stood before Prosecutor Marshall in his final moments. In other words, the real murderer, and there's only one person who that could be. Damon Gant. The killer was you.
I knew I should have gotten rid of him. That good-for-nothing scum. For 2 years, he's been snooping around the department, trying to get something on me. He wanted to reinvestigate the case. He recruited Angel Starr, then convinced Bruce Goodman.
If the evidence is transferred, I'll lose my only chance to find out the truth. Please, you gotta help me.
Goodman turned him down, as he ought to. Still, Jake Marshall didn't know when to quit.
He stole Goodman's ID card and tried to take the evidence.
Goodman came to me that day. I went with him to the evidence room. Then all of a sudden, he decided to speak out. What are you talking about, Goodman?
Can you please reopen the investigation, Chief? We can't transfer the evidence, though. There are too many questions left unanswered.
He opened his evidence locker. As he was taking the evidence out, he said,
It's not too late. I'm gonna hand this all over to Marshall.
Well, to be honest, I was a bit taken aback by his words. I had a bad feeling when he came to see me, but I never thought he'd bring up SL9. That's when I saw it. A cursed knife. I couldn't just pull it out.
Doing so would only lead to more blood, making it near impossible to hide your crime.
Even so, the blood was just pouring out. I didn't know who might stumble in, so I hurried to wipe it. I was worrying so much about the floor, I didn't realize my fatal mistake.
The bloody handprint.
I used to be known as the crime computer, but everyone has to start somewhere, I guess. I was too nervous.
Then you put the body in my car?
I'm sorry, I couldn't think of any other way to move the body.
How could you get Miss Sky involved in all this?
She had just as much to lose if I did if the truth came out.
So you took the evidence from Detective Goodman's locker.
I feel bad for having to do it. I also didn't have the time to pick and choose what to take. It looks like I was better off being an investigator of crimes than a committer. Why do you stand in court?
Me?
You despise criminals. I can feel it. You and me were the same.
He is not like you. Do not disrespect him, bitch.
Well, looks like it's time to say goodbye.
Miss Sky,
Yes, Your Honor?
you are innocent of murder. However, although the chief blackmailed you, the fact is you still acted as his accomplice. A trial will be scheduled for these crimes at a later date. Regarding the charge of the murder, this court finds the defendant, Miss Lana Sky, not guilty.
Oh, I'm finally done. Rain the confetti for me. I have suffered so much for this video. Oh my god. At long last, it's finally over.
Emma, I'm so sorry. But sis, you don't have to apologize. I'm happy now. You know, sis, I always knew that one day you'd come back. And now you have.
No one can change the past. The only thing that we can do is strive to make up for our mistakes. Why must we make up for our mistakes, you might ask? Because in doing so, we could find the way back to our rightful path. And it is from there that we can move on to a brighter future.
I hope you enjoyed that video because it took me a long time to do. My voice hurts now because of all those characters. I probably won't do an Ace Attorney video for a minute because this is a big ass project to pick up, if I'm being honest, and I can't really complete it in just 1 week. So it might take me like a month to make another one. Unless this video does like really well, but I don't see that happening. So I don't know, Batman next week. Even if I even upload, I honestly don't know.